Hello.
Hello. So now we're using Zoom.
Oh, we did the last time too, didn't we?
I thought it was something else.
No, it was Zoom.
Was it? Oh.
I'm pretty sure.
It all changes all the time. So what's going on? How are you feeling? How was your dentist?
It was pretty fantastic. It it sucked that I had to have the tooth extracted, but
Ooh.
as it turns out, it made my it returned a lot of energy to me. Because what had happened was my dentist towards the I think it's probably August of 2020 retired. My dentist I had for 20 years.
Yeah.
And in the process, Sonia had asked, Sonia said, well, it's probably a good time to look for a new dentist because even though he sold the practice to somebody, because it's like a 30-minute drive over to the dentist, right? Or depending upon traffic, it could be longer. And so in that process, they canceled her appointment, so they also canceled mine.
Yeah.
But I didn't think anything of it, and it was pandemic and everything, so everything was going. I wasn't in a hurry to get back to opening my mouth in front of other people. But the at the beginning of 2020, like in January, they'd taken an X-ray of my mouth, and there was a crack on the or chip or something. There was an opening at the gum line of my crown at the back of my tooth at the very last tooth in my mouth. Well, technically the number 2 tooth, because the number 1 tooth is a wisdom tooth, which I've had removed already. And my dentist at the time, who was still my dentist I had for 20 years, he probably said something along the lines of, we'll keep an eye on it. Next time you're in for your cleaning, we'll take another look at it, see what's going on. But we may have to do something with that. So in the meantime, he retired. It actually turns out that his son had died during this time as well. So he wasn't in the best of moods. And I had been, for the last several months, I'd been sick and tired, and I kept getting sick and tired, but I kept thinking that
you had an abscess?
Thinking that it was just, the times we live in. Well, yes, to get the long story short is so I called this one weekend, not this last weekend, the weekend before, I called the dentist that replaced him and said, look, I'm going to come in. Can someone take a look at, can I come in? Someone take a look at this tooth. I'm tasting something in the back of my throat that's foul. It feels like there's an infection. I go to get the teeth removed. So anyway, they called Monday afternoon. They say, yeah, we can get you in at 2:00. The dentist looked at your X-ray and says, you're probably going to have that tooth removed. I'm like, how would they know? That X-ray is pretty old, and I had completely forgot that my other dentist had talked to me about it. And he said, well, they looked at it and they said, there's a crack there, and it's likely it's been there for a year. Well, a year and a half almost now. So anyway, I go in, and he looks at it and he goes, yeah, take the tooth out. So he gives me all the options. I can go to an oral surgeon, get an implant put in, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but it's the last tooth in your mouth. This dentist even's like, I'm missing the one that's opposite you on the bottom, and I don't notice it. I'm like, oh, well, it's nice to know that a dentist is actually missing a tooth. That's sort of reassuring in some way. It's like a chiropractor having back issues. They understand what you're going through. So he opens it up and he goes, he takes it out and he's like, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a root canal there too. So I hadn't been feeling anything. He opens up and then afterwards he's like, yeah, you should have been feeling something for months. There was so much infection in there, but because you weren't feeling anything, he said, and then he asked, have you been feeling sick and tired and getting headaches? And I said, yeah, but so he goes, yeah, it's because you've been leaking bacteria into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
For months, possibly a year, who knows? So
the fuck is on John's face?
Well, I've been growing some stuff.
The fuck is that?
He's trying to be one of those cool jazz kids.
It's one of those Zoom facial things.
I don't think those are the terms you want to use on here.
It's the Alan Rickman disappearing facial hair and mole. I haven't seen the mole yet, but we'll get that
terrifying.
from Robin Hood.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, Damien, I as I was testing my audio, I was like, oh man, just got a beard, and it was solid for like a long time, and then suddenly started flickering out. And I thought, oh, fuck, the Matrix is screwing with me today.
Right? I'm like, he was trying out for like a Color Me Bad cover band.
Wow. Oh, wow.
But isn't Color Me Bad now a cover band anyway?
Isn't it though?
I haven't thought of them for ages, and I really didn't want to tonight, but thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Long story short, Rox, ever since like 2 days afterwards, like a light switched on and I've had all this energy and I've been back to my normal self.
Oh, you touched the paddles at Scientology?
Yes. Aren't you curious?
No.
They're great at ping pong. Touch the paddles.
That's okay. He's sending you a leaflet now.
All right.
I've got this book I want to send you.
Man, that sounds great to have energy again. Maybe I should go to the dentist.
It literally has been. I wish I had done this 6 months ago.
When you had an abscess?
Yes, that I didn't even know about. That had been
killing you.
Apparently. That's the other thing too. He goes, "Oh, it was underneath the crown. The tooth had already decayed into 4 separate pieces. That's how bad it was." He goes, "Normally people would have a lot of pain after this, but A, if you hadn't been feeling this pain this entire time, I don't know how. But B, we didn't have to wiggle or anything. We just started pulling stuff out." So it's gross, I know, but I feel a hell of a lot better. My body isn't killing myself anymore for no unexplainable reason. And my temperature would just go up and down all the time for no apparent reason, but apparently it's because I've been fighting an infection for months. So.
Ooh, that looks pretty, John.
So Widge called this meeting to order.
Oh, this is a
wait. There's order.
Oh, wait.
I'm gonna send you all the breakout rooms now. How's that sound?
Okay, good.
I'd like the ham on rye.
I'd prefer to go to a night driver room if that's okay. Speaking of paddles.
Those were never calibrated correctly, Wedge, ever.
Oh,
No.
hey, Tuffley, I wore that shirt yesterday.
Oh, well, I was sick yesterday, so,
Now you know why.
Yes.
Do you have COVID?
I don't have COVID. I have asthma.
Are you
So
sure?
it's a continuing thing.
Yeah, it's a party.
Oh, David, how'd your shot go? Did you get it?
I had 2 shots.
You had them both?
And I'm past the
I'm fully vaccinated today.
The walk around date.
Yeah.
So what is
fully
the
vaccinated
To be fair, though,
yesterday.
To be fair, though, John, being fully vaccinated in Florida means you have to wait in 6 hours traffic to go to White Castle.
That's why I'm going.
So what is the walk around time? What is
I
that?
think
2
it's
weeks
10 to 14 days. 10 to 14 days after you've had your second shot.
Yeah, they say
Yeah.
basically 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 14, pretty much.
Any side effects for anyone?
I got really,
not
really
for me.
tired.
I
That's
was
about it.
I was super tired and my arm was sore,
Mhm.
Yep.
and that was about it. Kim had a little
Yeah.
more of a reaction. She was sick for a couple of days, but
I was
Other than that.
not feel so. I think my walking around day is tomorrow, but this is Florida, so it's all.
It's all
We've
walking
had
We have
walking
no- we
around
have no
day all
rules.
year.
I was.
We have, all right. We've been open for a whole year. Tomorrow,
Right.
business went open May 5th
Mhm.
for Cinco de Mayo, I believe. I did that on the 10th, but yeah, we've been open a year.
More like sicko to mine. I was gonna say mine just made me grumpy, but that's not funny. No, I was tired, had a sore arm. Janet, because she had COVID, they told her it was gonna probably knock her loopy, and so about 3 or 4 days, she had the chills, the body aches, and the just general fatigue for like 3 or 4 days. I mean, it really just wiped her out.
Mm.
But you know, the doctor, or when she got her shot, the guy was really great at explaining, this is why you might feel this way, don't panic if you have this, and you know, they were really good at explaining it, which is nice. So
I went
So
to
my
Mercedes-Benz
at
Stadium.
Publix,
You got a free sub?
She shot me. Yeah, it was free. And then she said, this is experimental. It's like, you tell me this now.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
That's-
As she's
you
like pushing it through.
you know what else was
It's
experimental?
you won't
You know
notice
what-
anything until the alien
Yeah.
tries to come out of your
Yeah,
chest.
you know what else was experimental? The vaccine for polio and measles. So
Yeah, I know. It's just funny,
I know.
I'm angling for rubella. I feel like that doesn't get enough.
Rubella. Oh my God. So we had the best PSAs up in New York. And I think the rubella one was the umbrella. Rubella.
Rubella, the
We'll have to
umbrella.
look- yeah, we'll have to look that up. But yeah, it's like, get your kids, All right, I got to tell you this funny story. So back in the day, I think it was for rubella. I think my mom. So back in the day, I'm like the first the vanguard of Gen X. Okay, so totally hands-off parent. My mom, I think, read like, hey, get your kids vaccinated, probably for rubella, I'm guessing. So we were really young. So she's like, go down to the health department and get a shot. So I take my sister Roberta, who's a year younger than me, and I think we're like, I don't know, 5 or 6. And we go to the health department, and there's, Sally, the nurse, who's put upon. She's like, kids, what are you doing here? It's like, our mom said we had to come down for shots. Oh, just a minute. And she's like, where's your mother? And they're like, she's at home. She's like, come back tomorrow. Hold on. So anyway, that's my shot story. Hold on, I'll be back.
There's someone at the door? There's
Yeah,
literally someone at the door?
There is someone
Yes.
at the
Eddie
door.
Graham.
It's a pleb doctor.
John, I would like you to know
Well, that's
that
what this
up until
podcast is really all
tonight,
about.
I did not have to download Zoom to my laptop. So congratulations.
Oh wow,
Didn't we do Zoom? I thought we did Zoom the last time.
we did.
We did, but I wasn't on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
wasn't on the last
oh. JJ's here.
Yay!
Hey, JJ.
Rox is back. Maybe.
Sometimes.
She's not.
Often.
Only
Not much.
occasionally.
My lawn guy. He shows up whenever he shows up.
Are you sure that
Oh,
was the
so
lawn
does
guy and
mine.
not a land shark?
The lawnmower man? No.
Mm.
Rox, we just had that discussion with Nicole. He texted us. He was like, hey, I know it's raining and blah, 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 blah. I'll be there when it dries out.
Uh-huh.
And unless I am not mistaken, that's a sexual reference.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
It is if you're, oh, damn. I'm trying to- Fuck.
Weed and seed. man.
Rox was trying to
Weed and
push it in
seed.
earlier, though.
I don't remember that one. So yeah, our shit show here in Florida, we're open, been open.
Yeah, I'll see you in July.
Oh, you're coming down. Oh, hey, congrats. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congrats for what?
Thank you. Oh,
They got a picture. They got a big
yeah.
picture.
Having a baby.
They-
Like my wife's like.
I'm
That's
surprised.
So
I'm
we are
surprised
now-
Scott didn't show up.
We're now at 15 weeks. I'm having a boy.
Congratulations.
There you go.
Congratulations.
So I have been putting together the crib and getting the room together, getting the rest of the house together. And his dresser got here this weekend. So we're starting to do.
You have to
all the
re-infant
things.
the house.
Not too bad. Not too bad. We already had
Yeah.
all the kitty gates because so my nephew, he hasn't even turned 4 yet, has ever since he was born, would be with us at least 1 week in a month. They just moved back here from Texas and he stayed here an entire week. And with us having stairs and everything, it's just like terrifying. You got a little boy running around who just wants to go up and down the stairs at full speed all the time. And I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm just gonna let you take a header, and at some point you'll figure it out. But you know, we've got all the kitty gates.
You're not going to let him do the Calvin and Hobbes thing
Well-
down the stairs?
Oh, trust me, there were things I wanted to do, and my wife looked at me and was like, "No, absolutely not." And I'm like, "But we have a bunch of cardboard in the garage. We could do it." And she's like,
This is why we
"No."
got a house with stairs, honey. I
Right.
didn't tell you that. But,
Literally, I was about to line the entire staircase with cardboard and move the couch out of the way at the bottom landing, and just we could slide down the whole thing.
Just remember, batarangs are pointy.
Whatever.
I just remember that when my sister showed up, my grandmother was like, "What are we gonna do about those stairs when the baby gets here?" And my mom said, "Oh, we'll just put them in the garage."
Mm,
The stairs?
Yeah.
yes.
That was my grandmother. Like I always say, if no matter what you wanted to do, she knew somebody who died doing it. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it makes logical sense. You get rid of the staircase and then it's
does.
only one step.
but it's a Lulu.
But anyone can
It's
fall down one step.
Yep.
Well, I have lots of stairs in my house, so
Oh, well, there you go.
no
Yeah.
one's died yet. Knock on wood.
Not yet.
I guess I'm not coming over.
No. If you're afraid of stairs, don't do it.
I've already had somebody throw me down a flight of stairs. I don't need that again.
That's horrible.
What?
There's a story there.
I don't remember it.
How
That's
did-
what's.
Oh,
What
that's
What did you
even
do to
worse.
piss off Janet that night?
This was 1990. Let's see, Clinton was president, so that'd be 94.
well, he does remember who the president was, so there's one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
He just remembers the awesome sax playing.
So I went to the girl I was seeing at the time in New York. We went to a New Year's Eve party at her Cuban friend's house, and they had a Moringa band, and that's when I had rum for the first time, and also rum, and I don't remember anything but her friend opening the door of a cab and pushing us out.
Oh my God, Rob was
Opening
with
the
you behind
door,
place.
opening the door to my basement apartment, and then pushing us in. And I remember I woke up the next day at the bottom of the stairs, and then my girlfriend was above me on the bottom of the stairs. And we woke up at like 7:30 the next day in the morning, and I had this huge bruise on my shoulder. And I'm like, "What the hell happened?" She's like, "I don't really remember, but I know that you said something silly, and I kicked you, and you fell down a couple of the stairs."
That guy looks dirty.
So, and none of us really remember anything else that happened. So there you are.
Wow.
Were Randolph and
I am
Moreland there?
not. I am. This is why I don't do a lot of public drinking, because it usually leads to problems.
Me neither.
That's the reason why. It's not because you've been drinking you can't get out of your house. It's because
No.
You know,
Well,
Well,
I mean,
he was drinking and couldn't get into his house.
yeah,
It's the opposite problem.
I've
exactly.
fallen into a bottle of rum and it can't get up.
Man, that was not bad rum though. I mean, that was, yeah, I don't remember what the fuck it was, but it was good. I don't even remember going to Times Square, which apparently we did.
That's
There's pictures of me at Times Square, but I have no recollection of going.
And that's almost like a Pogues album title.
Yes.
It's okay, Rob.
It's not as embarrassing as the time I almost threw up on Leonard Nimoy, but it's up there.
Oh, that's not good.
No. That also involved alcohol. So
It's funny because it's true.
welcome to the podcast.
It's
But
the
yes, we're all
podcast that
back.
keeps giving in ways you really don't want.
Yes, but
Yeah, that's true.
hey, I have that same thing framed in my place, Tuffley.
Oh yeah? Which
yeah.
one?
The Bowie, the stamps.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's
That was-
simply are really
that was-
the same person. They're just
That was
opposite
that
sides of
Kim
the
got me
coin.
that for Christmas one year.
Yeah.
Both of those. And then she got the stamps. I ended up getting the frames later, but yeah.
Yeah.
The stamps are
I've-
hard to get because they were British stamps. So
Yeah. Yeah. I traded a case of Budweiser for him because I have a friend in England who thinks Budweiser is the drink of the gods. And I'm like, you're not really English.
okay, that's not what she paid for him. So you got a better deal. Congratulations.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
like that's an
Budweiser.
international incident waiting to happen.
That's
Budweiser and Oreos, man.
That
one of
is
the
not
places
your
where
friend.
beer is made, but they
Hey.
want Budweiser.
That person is not your friend.
Well, you know, I had my celebratory vaccination drink by finishing off the Aldi's whiskey. And
I heard the oldies whiskey isn't bad.
oh, it's really fucking good.
Is it really?
I have tried 6 times to get it. 5 times it didn't get through customs. The last time my friend just labeled it as books.
That's the way to do it.
I
That's
thought you
They
did.
won't look. It's fine.
no, what you do is you take the bottle and you
So-
tape a message to it that says "Read this."
Well, there's also a pandemic. They're not gonna, you know. I mean, I ordered music in November that came yesterday, so I'm not gonna complain.
The
Yeah, so
last
if they're not
Yeah.
if they're not inspecting packages, maybe now is the time to get those jumbo candy eggs from Canada, the Kinder eggs.
Oh, there's nothing going in and out of Canada, buddy.
Yeah.
the last of the immunization whiskey I got is actually right here. So that's
Ooh.
Oh.
we were talking.
Oh.
Please, sir, tell me you're vaccinated.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay,
I
good.
got my second vaccination a week ago yesterday, and since it was
Good.
Pfizer, that means I'm actually Moderna takes 14 days to go full. Pfizer takes 7, so I am in the clear.
Really?
Oh,
told
that's
us-
great.
They told us 2 weeks, so we were doing full.
They say 2 weeks because it's basically 2 weeks for Johnson & Johnson and Moderna, but
I had the
I've-
Pfizer, and they told me 2 weeks. Bastards.
I think they just do that to make it easier because people can't fully understand it. But I've been watching a lot of scientific videos and shit because
Yeah.
I know people that are making arguments, and so it's just nice
Yeah,
to
I
have
know.
information at your
know.
fingertips.
See, I've started a brand new philosophy called I just don't give a shit at this point. If you don't want to get vaccinated, I hope you know, whatever, fucking die. I don't care.
Now that
Yeah.
I'm vaccinated, I can do that. But working with the public for the last
I work with the
fucking
public,
year-
and they're all stupid, and I don't care.
Yeah, but when they were going to kill me, I cared.
But
Now-
they're not going to kill me now. I don't care. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what now I care less.
yeah.
Well,
welcome
other
to-
people can always kill you, Rob. They'll just figure out another way to do it.
So my
That's
neighbor
why
made,
people are.
made this.
No, that's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
You should put that on a shirt, Rox.
I sent a text to my, so him and his wife will do stuff for so he does the whole Planet of the Apes stuff around our neighborhood.
Yeah, Rox, explain
And-
explain what you
wait,
just showed us for the
wait, wait.
podcast
Hold-
listeners.
hold on a
For the
second.
podcast.
Around your neighborhood, there's just a guy that does the whole, like, as though in every neighborhood there's a guy who does the Planet of the Apes stuff.
Yes.
Yes, he's
It's true.
Charlton Heston, and he sits and he talks to an empty chair.
It's a department of the
So-
community watch. It's what happens.
So my neighbor, his wife works for the Wall Street Journal, and she does little dot art, and he does printing. So he does these wheat pastes, I won't divulge his name. And he put, he does.
His name is Banksy.
No, but they do some work for Shepherd Ferry. I do know that. So I'm like, hey, take me out on a thing one night. We're like, okay. So he does this whole. His theme is Planet of the Apes. So he has like this, organ grinder one. So this one is new. This one's brand new. I was coming up from downtown and I saw it. I'm like, oh, wow, that one's actually really cool. So he does this one. He's got one image of Cornelius as Superman, which was on a giant building. So that was really cool. So yeah, this one's a good one.
Well,
because he's never done a Dr. Zira. He's always done Cornelius or Dr. Zaius.
So Rox, describe the image you held up for the people listening at home.
You can find the image on my Instagram, which is at Spaz House LLC, or I could describe it. It's a black and white. It looks like it's a wheat paste. It says saves lives, and it's got Dr. Zira with a hypodermic needle and glasses, and it says get your vaccine.
Very nice.
Cool. Very cool. So yeah, I sent a text to him like, I want that as a shirt. So
that'll make a great shirt.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that shit.
But it's one that he just produced, and I think the size is like 2x3 size, so you can see it. It's on a a utility box, so it's a good size.
Very cool.
So get vaccinated. Get your vaccine.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the.
She should know. She's a veterinarian,
I'm a big fan of the vaccine passport idea, as in get vaccinated or never leave your house again.
Yeah.
This is true.
But
well, see, if you had said that.
Unless you live in Florida.
Or Texas. Or Missouri. Well, we opened up this week, so it's.
See, now I'm just like, why did I bother getting the shot? I don't want to leave my house now, so it's fine.
We're
was that an or?
In Oregon, because we're overwhelmed with the British variant.
The spring breakers that came back from Florida, but go on.
Yeah, but we have
that too.
the British variant, and so we are actually like in full lockdown again.
Oh wow!
They just closed all the restaurants again and stuff. But here's kind of a funny moral quandary for me right now, is that so I've got a vacation coming in June. I'm vaccinated. I really fucking want to get out of Oregon. I just want to take like a little quick trip. So I've kind of looked at like little kind of safe places I could go. And the sad thing is,
Florida, we're open.
That's one thing is all the places with bad government are good places to go. All the places with good government, if you go there, you can't do anything. So I'm trying to find a nice
happy medium.
Happy medium.
All right. What about like Wyoming? No one goes there.
And there's a reason for that.
Or what's the
North Dakota?
No. Wyoming or Montana?
Idaho.
I would rather shoot both my feet off.
Louisiana, Mississippi.
I just took a
we're
week
just naming
off
states. What are we doing?
Home.
Hey, we're having metal concerts. You can come here.
Mm-hmm. I actually, one of the funny things,
6,000 people, no masks.
One of the funny thing is one of the places I've looked at that's actually kind of under control and really cheap to visit right now is fucking Vegas.
Yeah, nothing's open though.
Yeah, it is. It's slowly opening, and the thing is, like, you can go to shows, but you just have to. You have like a 4 or 5 seat bank around you, which is kind of okay with me. It means the tickets are a little bit more expensive.
You can go to hockey games. I think they've opened that up.
But yeah, it's like, and plus most of the shit that goes on in Vegas, I don't want to do.
Well, it usually stays there anyway.
Yeah. So COVID won't follow you home.
Yeah.
But I looked it up. I mean, like
herpes will, not COVID.
Well,
But
I
that's
don't
just in the
think I'm in
buffets. That's
danger of
fine.
that.
You don't go
No,
near
they do
those.
not give out herpes in Vegas at those places. Those people are very, very well tested and cared for.
Not
Probably
not anymore.
Well, and those people aren't in Vegas. That's illegal in Vegas.
And if the pinball
It's
machine's
not
not open,
outside the city limit.
if the
I know a
pinball
bar.
museum is not open, there's no point in going to Vegas.
I know a bar in Vegas that's got a mechanical bull.
I mean, my thing is just I've been looking for like just a 2 or 3 day trip, and it's actually
That's why
now-
tourism is down.
yeah, but right now to get like from Portland to Vegas for like a 3 day weekend is like next to nothing for like a first class ticket and a room in like one of the like fucking famous hotels. I've never been there, and so it's like part of me is like I don't give a shit if it's open. I just kind of I'm a big enough like Rat Pack fan that I just kind of want to walk around and look at the shit that's still open.
Yeah, the
Nice.
mob museum's pretty great.
Oh my gosh, you should go like do a tour of the sad, desperate hotels.
You go to the Hoover Dam, nobody will be there.
Actually, I would love that.
It's awesome. The tour is great.
Yeah, I've thought about if I do it. I don't know. I haven't bought the ticket yet, but if I do it, I'll probably end up renting a car for like a day just to kind of get lost in the desert.
Yeah, we're thinking about doing that for Kansas City. We're thinking about just taking the train
Yeah.
because it's $12.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's $12 round trip. So
Oh yeah.
To Kansas City?
yeah.
Yeah, they've gone about as far as they can go.
Hmm.
Very good, Witch.
Oh,
Very good, Witch.
Sorry.
Rocks.
I don't remember it costing $12.
Nobody's going anywhere.
Oh, no, this is true. So Disney, John, you know this. Disney is like 30% capacity. So now's the time to go to Disney.
They've been upping it because
They've
Disney
been
has been
upping
open
it.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And aren't they fully booked right
Since
now?
last year.
At the capacities they're ramping up to? Aren't they just fully booked?
Yeah, they're you have to book in advance, and yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to,
Alright.
you don't want to go to Disney World right now. You want to go to Disneyland because that's where they have the smaller capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right.
I love the
Yeah.
fact that I
Actually,
also
you want to go
read-
on a Disney cruise right now. That's what you want to do.
God.
but
That's an entirely different Avengers initiative right there.
I
No,
love the
no,
fact
no,
that
no,
in
no,
order
no.
to reopen at Disney, they had to figure out how to take, was it 3 minutes off the Rise of the Resistance ride because it was too long to be inside because of state ordinances.
Wow. Well, I just like the because they've opened it's a California Adventure, right? Where they've got the Avengers campus.
It's not
It's
open
not
yet.
open until June.
Okay, but there was Tony Goldmark on Twitter was saying once they open, if they're not at full capacity, once they get to full capacity, they should act like, well, that's the blip bringing everyone back, and then have a Flag Smashers recruitment post somewhere on the campus.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
said I would totally fly out there just to be one of the recruiters.
Just have the VR app that they had in the show that they didn't make any big deal out of, or the augmented reality, not VR, AR.
The what? Which what?
In the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's the reason he found out that the Flag Smashers was there. Is he had an AR app on his phone, and they were leaving
right, okay.
like digital tags.
Right, gotcha. No, that would work. And they have done stuff like that before. There was like a Phineas and Herb like adventure thing that you could go on with your kids.
It was a Perry thing that you walked around the park with. Is that what you're talking about?
Perry the squirrel?
Perry
Perry the
the
little girl squirrel, yeah.
platypus. He's a detective. You know, he wears a hat.
Who has kids?
And you would go. It was going around Epcot. And you hit all the. There's that whole alternate reality thing going on.
I think the only episode of that show I ever watched was the one where the Avengers were on it.
I don't remember
Nice.
one of the. Maybe I do remember it.
because my nerd knows no limit, basically.
That's okay.
Phineas and Ferb was a good show.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's on Disney Plus.
But yeah, so Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh, that thing.
Yes, has everyone seen it?
Yes.
I cried.
Okay.
At which part?
The end.
When the Flag Smashers got beaten, that's what she was crying about.
No.
She was
No.
busy,
She was busy writing up a critique. Like, here's how to not get defeated next time.
she was crying about Sharon Carter being the power broker.
No, I cried at the museum scene.
Yeah.
Oh, at the end.
that was-
yeah.
Yeah.
Because he gets Isaiah the little display.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So I can actually speak of that a little bit. So my dad, he was in special forces in Korea. So it was like the start of it. And when he passed away, my brother donated a jacket, his Eisenhower jacket. And he was part of a partisan group, which was whatever, I don't know the grouping, but he was a UN group. So they would parachute over and they would like parachute with money, and they would pretty much bribe whoever on the communist side and stuff like that. But there is a museum in Fayetteville, and it is the Special Forces Museum. And the thing about how they declassify stuff, it takes years.
Yes, it
years
does.
and years.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally declassified our dad's stuff, and he was part of a group called the Rakasans because of the parachutes, and it looked like it's some sort of age, it's the way it looked. That's what they came up with. So they opened up this one segment for Korea, the Korean conflict, and we were invited. And that is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, and the really cool thing is if you go to Fayetteville, go to that, because they really did a great job. It's like Smithsonian kind of museum. And they had a lot of funding from Ross Perot. He was a big, donor for that museum. So it was really cool when, here is something, we don't have a marker for our parents. They were cremated and we scattered them, but if we want to, we could go visit our dad's jacket, so that is something. That is something.
Yeah. I was going through crates of stuff here, and my dad was in Alaska, like right after the war broke out. He was in the Pacific, but then he ended up in Alaska. So I found like maps of Kodiak, Alaska, like menus from diners, and like just like this box of stuff from Kodiak, Alaska. So I called the Alaska Historical Society, and they're like, we want all of it. So they're making like they archive it. It's under like a collection thing. So it's going to have like a whole collection for my dad's name and stuff on it. And
Nice.
The woman I was talking to was like, so nice. I said, she's like, have you been to Alaska? I said, no, my dad was in the Aleutians freezing, working supply lines during Korea. And that's about all I know. And it was weird because I'm trying to get the record of all the boats and stuff my dad was on. He was in the Navy, and I called the archives about it, and it was classified. And I'm like, what? So it turns out my dad was in the H-bomb tests at Bikini Atoll. He was on a boat.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So hence the Burkitt's lymphoma that wiped through him in a month and a half, like shit through a goose. But anyone who was on any of those boats, whether you were like a cook, a barb, or whatever, all your files are classified because they didn't want anyone compromised. And when they reopened them, they just never thought, oh, we better, So now, like within the last 10 years, they're starting to like, oh yeah, I guess, we just kind of forgot that we have to like declassify all this stuff. So But yeah, man, it's like, it's weird. Like you could get a hamburger for a nickel, and he had booked some matches, and his book he was in occupied Japan, and he saved all of his beer labels and alcohol labels, and bottle caps. That's really cool. And
see, and I'm like Rob. Pops was actually in the Air Force, and he did Japan at the end of World War II, Germany, Guam, and Korea. And so I grew up in a house with like literal old wooden ammunition boxes.
Hey, yep.
Being used for shoe shine boxes and storage. There was a couple of old caulked up rifles. The interesting thing though is, with him passing a few months ago, what happened in the past few years is, we grew up. He was very flat most of our lives about his service and the things he did.
Mm-hmm.
But as he got older, what ended up happening was he would always loved watching the Travel Channel, because he would see things, like, oh, I remember when we were there, and that part was a good time, and we got to go here, and da 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 da, and he'd explain the things that happened during that time. But it was interesting. He never talked about the combat side of service until, he started getting older, and like night terrors would kick in with everything else. And so he finally started saying, here's what really happened. Right. And it was, the shit was ugly. And it's, it's something there are parts of it. He said, there are parts of this I flat out regret that I wish never happened. That I didn't do any of the things that happened during those times, and at the same time, this is a man where literally my eldest sister had to fight to get all of his records pulled and get him proper medical care and everything else. Now, once all of that got sorted, because records for Black GIs were not kept the exact same way. There are a lot of things that were promised early on and up front. So, so when I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier and I watched that whole scene with Carl Lumley, I'm like, oh no, that's my pops discussing certain things that happened while they were over there, where it's like, I was over there. This is what happened. This is how we were treated by our own people. And we're still over there. By the way, I got blown up by a landmine over here. And managed to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I grew up with, like, my pops had a giant, like, we get keloids in our family, which are huge, thick scars whenever we, get cut open or whatever. And so it's a hereditary thing. And he had a giant one on his chest. And then, like, what happened? I was like, oh, he got blown up by a landmine, right? Or like the rest of his life, there's a bullet fragment that just kind of floated around and shows up on every X-ray, and it's like no big deal. Like, new doctor comes in for anything, like, okay, we did that. We found this little black spot. It's a bullet, right? And it just moves, and stayed there his entire life. So, like, watching all of that, watching him and Bucky talk about what happened. That whole, the back matter for the book Truth that came out. Like, that's Pops. That's my uncles. That's, everything. Like, the treatment when you got home, that's direct history that I got to live with and experience and hear on different levels, right? Because I've got, other uncles that, went on the service that came back from places like Vietnam, and they did not come back the same, right? At all. And it's like, oh, okay. Now I understand a little better.
Yeah. So the series rang true for you.
Definitely touched home. Definitely touched home. And the other part though for Falcon and Winter Soldier is, of course, with some of us here living in Atlanta, it's like I am literally just picking out, I'm like, okay, Madripoor, right? And so after they showed Madripoor the first time, I went and hung out in Croc Street Tunnel, took a bunch of pictures, like, yeah, we went for, our walk today, hanging out in Madripoor, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's Croc Street Tunnel. Or like everyone that for those of us that know us from Dragon Con, if you go above Peachtree Center MARTA station,
Mhm.
it's that whole last battle scene occurred
Mhm.
outside in the new courtyard that was remodeled above the food court.
Wow.
I
Right?
watched was it Thunder Force or whatever. Do not recommend it to anybody. But I'm like, it's supposed to be Chicago, and I'm like going, that's
That's
this is filmed in
Atlanta.
Atlanta, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's like the trailer for
Just
Loki.
about everything
Oh yeah.
is filmed in Atlanta.
The trailer for Loki was flat out distracting.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
It seemed like there was another film I ran across that it was just like, no, that's Atlanta.
It's
That
like
happens a
there's
lot.
a scene there. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the Hilton Ballroom at the
Yes.
All this-
Absolutely. Peachtree Center is all through the last episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, where
Yeah.
they're running through the little corridors. I'm like, oh, that's the hallway that leads all the way over to SunTrust.
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
From the
yeah.
from the Hyatt.
And all the, whenever I see Dark Knight, it's like, that's not Gotham, that's Chicago.
Right.
And it's like, hey, that's Jazz Record Mart, and they covered it up. Or, hey. And there's one shot, if you go past it quick enough, you still see a cop outside with a Chicago police jacket badge. You can still see the badge, like a half second. It's like, come on, man.
That
Wait
Shane
for
Black,
Dragon Con.
the Shane Black movie was with the Nice Guys. I think it's supposed to take place in LA, but the final battle or the final like gun scene or whatever, and they pull up in front of the Hilton, the Atlanta Hilton, and it's like I've been with people smoking cigarettes right there, like many a night.
So,
I have a friend. Go ahead.
I was going to just say that, for that, so it was what, 6 episodes?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like the writing. I don't even think there was like one of those, the ubiquitous middle episode that you're like, oh God, just fast forward it.
Yeah.
I like the way they carried this through. I really did. I
like
really
the fact that because it's Disney Plus and not Netflix, Netflix, the problem was they would be like, okay, you got 13 episodes. And they'd be like, well, we got 11. Well, you got 13 episodes. So they would have to come up with 2 extra episodes. With this, if they felt like doing 5, 7, 4, I think they let them do whatever length they wanted. So yeah, they don't have to pad it out or compress stuff to make it crazy.
Mhm.
But Feige said that they found the sweet spot for them is 6 hours of content.
I mean,
Ladies.
I can't find anything wrong with it. I mean, it was just so seamless.
I mean, to me,
It was emotional. It had action. It had everything I wanted it to have, and not fuck up.
I found that. I'm sorry. Go for it.
No, go ahead, JJ.
I was going to say, for me, I said it sort of felt like the way I feel about comics a lot of the time, which is probably not the way most comic fans feel, but I liked the episodes when they slowed shit down. Like Sam at Home was like some of the best stuff for me. When an episode got too bogged down by the overarching plot is when I tend to sort of daydream a little bit more, because I don't care about I've seen that man punch that man before so many times,
right?
That doesn't interest me as much as anytime I've always said that like my favorite X-Men issues are the ones where they're having breakfast for 3/4 of the issue, and so that's like
when they're playing basketball.
Yeah, and so
Basketball
like
and baseball.
the beginning, like the first episode and a half and like the last 2 episodes were where I thought the show really shined. I mean, you needed all that stuff in the middle, but I really liked when they just decompressed it enough to let the characters, other than Zemo dancing, shine.
Well, the thing is they learned with Black Panther because they really didn't do that with Hawkeye, of people with family. They really, and they learned that from Black Panther. I think it's like, hey, I have a family. This is my family. So they had to do that.
Well, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second Ant-Man, yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that. But
That was also
They-
shot here in Atlanta.
It was.
yes, it
Yeah.
was.
There was stuff that obviously looked like, oh, these are mats of San Francisco, but it's totally Atlanta.
Well, it's like Civil War was when it was filmed. Nicole's like, I got stuck behind a truck today, and it was a film truck, and she's like, I got stuck behind this thing. I think it's they're filming something for Captain America here, and I was like, yeah, it's Civil War, because she works for the Board of Regents, and so they used to rent out that old archive building that is now blown up and gone.
Yeah.
But that was one of the building. That building was in, let's see, Captain America: Civil War. It's the building that shrinks for Ant-Man, and the building no longer exists. It was in Fast and the Furious. That's what they were leasing that building out for, films.
Yeah, my
I think the
favorite
parking garage
example
from
of
Emery's
stuff being
that too.
shot in Atlanta is somebody took the opening chase sequence from Baby Driver and did a
Yep.
split screen of where they were on Google Maps,
Mhm.
so you can see them leap around from place to place. I thought that
And
was really good.
here's the deal: that street is the same. So I have a friend that owns a string of coffee shops, and his very, very first shop is actually downtown, and that street is used, I don't know how many times in I don't know how many films, because he'll actually call me and go, hey, they have to pay them for the closing of the business being blocked off because no one can go in and out of the buildings and what have you. There's several shops on the street. And so he's like, hey, they're filming Avengers. So like that whole scene from Avengers Endgame where it's Tony and Doctor Strange and everything, that's all shot downtown near Georgia State on this one little small side street next to where all the food is.
Do they have shawarma?
Yes, they actually do.
Okay.
They actually do.
That's kind of like living in LA. You live in LA for a little while, and you realize that the geography of any movie shot in LA ever is way off. And there's this one diner that every movie uses. It's used in Pulp Fiction and Triple X.
Mhm.
And I know that diner is about a stone's throw from the La Brea Tar Pits. And
Mhm.
once you know that diner, you're like never gonna forget it. And you see it, if you probably at least once a year in a movie.
Nice.
I think they use it in Mythic Quest, Raven's Banquet. That there was a whole scene shot because I was like, "Is that the diner from Pulp Fiction?"
Probably because they just
I
shoot
think
it
it
from
was.
different angles.
Well, the cool thing is they used a lot of the other outside locations here in Atlanta on Falcon Winter Soldier. Like there's that one scene where the Flag Smashers are kind of hiding out, and it's it looks like an old set of ruins, and that's actually the old set of ruins in Sweetwater State Park,
Yep.
not far from me. Where
Oh,
it's actually
yeah.
it's actually all fenced off when you see it, because you have to, it's on the trail and it's got stairs and
Yeah.
you can look down in it. And when they did that whole overhead shot, I'm like, wait, that's Sweetwater, because there's all the water behind them and everything else. I'm like, I know exactly where that at. So that's what it looks like when it's not in the fence.
Yeah, and I liked you cut from Prague to that, which
Mhm.
was like, oh, okay, I know where that is. We're back to where I know where that
What was
is.
it? The fight scene on the truck was like a composite of like 3 different locations.
Yeah, that was a
Right?
completely
Most
digital
of it-
environment.
Yeah.
It seemed like in that making of, the thing they said the most was, and then we had to get rid of everything that looked like Atlanta.
Well, and then make stuff match what they had done for Puerto Rico when they couldn't go to Puerto Rico, and that was all crazy.
I also watched this. So I watched this YouTube series. It's the channel is Corridor Crew, where they do like stuntmen
Yes.
reacting to stunts or
Yes.
visual effects art. Well, they had one on there where it was stuntmen reacting to Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they had the dude who doubles as Falcon, and he was talking about the fact that even though they're stunt coordinators, he was able to sort of figure out how Falcon was going to fight, so they kind of defer to him. So there's a continuity throughout, which is pretty fascinating.
Nice.
So Falcon, I guess, fights in a combination of jujitsu and close quarters combat, and there was one other discipline, but they just sort of go between the three different disciplines and sort of work out, like, well, part of the reason we do like jujitsu because that works with the kicks and strikes that you could do when you were coming in from flying angles and things like that.
Yes.
And different kinds of takedowns. It was really, I don't know, it's pretty fascinating.
Unfortunately, according to the internet, it's also his fighting style is getting his ass kicked. Because there are numerous articles in regards to Sam needing to learn how to fight better.
I grew up adoring the Rocky movies, and Rocky doesn't even throw a punch until he gets his ass kicked. So that's a legitimate fighting technique in my book.
So here was my thing. I'm like, okay, right? You're fighting all of these things, and normally he's flying and shooting and everything else. And they pointed out how, like, Ant-Man, I'm like, well, he's fighting a guy that shrinks and grows and does all the things, what have you. But in reality, right, there's a little bit difference to it. And one of the things that I noted was, if you look at Captain America, right? When you look at Captain America, First Avenger, Cap couldn't fight that great, right? He was just a guy that was enhanced. And it was only until after he got out of the ice that you see the development of him at the end of First Avenger. And then you see him when he fights Batroc for the first time.
Yeah.
And that comes up, and you see, he was like, no, I've been training. And he switches his style completely up because he had been training, right? And that's what I said. I was like, no, Sam just needs time to develop a little bit more, right?
Yep.
Because he's not used to that type of close quarters.
Correct. And it's like, okay, right?
He's also going to deal with the shield. He
Right.
really hasn't had a lot of experience working with the shield.
Wings, shield, all of it. Like it's a different thing when you're fighting someone directly right there. And I mean, he does a great job of using his wings and his thrusters and all the other things. It's the regular mundane, if you will, hand-to-hand combat, which again, even Steve had to go, learn a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In between
And
films.
frankly, a punch that hits Sam is going to hurt worse than a punch that hits Steve because Steve's enhanced.
Yeah, and Sam isn't. So
And
exactly.
very importantly, Sam isn't.
I did like the bit where he was using the vibranium wings to anchor himself into the
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I think
was
having
very
the Captain America suit come from Wakanda. I mean, I know I'm saying this as a white dude. I get it, but I just thought that was just a beautiful touch because it took it away from the American military and put it firmly into the how can I say this and not sound too white? Put it firmly out of the world of the, like, this is what the American government has handed you, and out of the this is technology that has come from
Out of the U.S. military industrial complex.
There we go.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Does that sound good?
There was an entire Twitter thread about like a costume person breaking down why John Walker's uniform was the way it was, and the color choices and the shape choices and everything.
Because don't forget, with anything in the U.S. stuff for contracts, it always goes to the lowest bidder.
So you're saying it looked cheap?
Said no one ever.
The John Walker one, that looked weird. I'm like,
but it looks like him, right? If you go back to the comics,
it's really supposed to set up the U.S. agent suit, but yeah, okay.
It fits.
It just, the man didn't have quite the head for that helmet. That's and it's not his fault.
No, and that's the weird thing. It's like, okay, so if you're gonna do like a PR thing, is you're gonna search out the guy with a really good jawline, and that guy did not have one.
Well,
It was just like,
but even with Chris Evans, we always complained about the helmet in all of the movies. Like
Yeah.
the helmet never worked in any of the movies. Like Chris
It
Evans
got
looked
better.
in the suit
mean,
without
but
the
it
helmet
does.
on,
It got
without the
better.
headgear.
It does, and I mean, here's the thing. To Wyatt's credit, man, he played that role exactly how he should have played it.
Oh,
oh
God.
yeah,
he was great.
absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Like, I hate that people as fans always, go too far, right? To the point where they will push a lot of good actors out for doing a superb job at what they were trying to portray, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
He made John. They can put everything. You can put the writers can put whatever they want on the page, right? He still has to kind of exude that, and
Mhm.
he did, right? He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that.
Through
Yeah.
and through, right? When you think about like certain people, like think about the Gleason kid who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? I had such a visceral reaction when I was watching The Dark Knight in the theaters, and Katie Holmes goes to rescue him. I'm like, you should let him die, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible, right? Because the Gleason kid did such a good job.
Joffrey Begins.
Yeah. I'm like you made me hate this kid all the way back to Batman Begins, right? So it's like Wyatt did a great job of
Yeah.
exuding all of that.
Yeah.
I'm totally looking forward to if we get Thunderbolts, which we've got to
God.
now. But
We
if we get Thunderbolts, I really
getting
do want to see
something
where
like
this
that.
goes. Yeah.
I
they
do
got some of
like
the bad guys.
Yes.
Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Oh,
Oh my God.
she was great.
She was like hearkening back to, Elaine a little bit. I love that. It's like, hey,
What I
don't
hate
call
about
me
it is that
that.
it came out of the blue, right? And
Yes.
everybody's like, who the heck is this? When we didn't get Black Widow when we were supposed to. That was supposed to actually be her introduction.
Yeah, I wonder, are they going to cut her bit in Black Widow, or are we still getting
That's what they're saying. They're saying it's no longer
okay?
a thing, right? They came out and they said, look, that she was actually supposed to originally be introduced in Black Widow.
I actually like it
Oh.
this way. I mean, I like her just showing up because it was a surprise to me. And
Mhm.
It was for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also I like how they made they didn't let Walker be a one note, oh, he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and when you have the basic strain of how do you, and Sam's gonna have to deal with this too, how are you an unenhanced Captain America following Steve Rogers? How do you possibly live up to that and the strain of that when and again the point of his where he's like, this is what you trained me to be, is the killer, and so I did what you trained me to do. What the hell?
Well, that was the
Well,
conversation he was having at the beginning when he was picked. Is like, why
Yeah.
me?
Right. Well, but you also saw in the beginning, there are some things there, right? Where there's some nervousness, there's some tics, there's some PTSD. If you go back through his conversations with Lamar,
Yeah.
right? There are a lot of things where I think, his character is very, very poignant when you look at certain things that come up even in the news now in regards to it, it's going to be a very controversial topic, but like police activity, right?
Yeah.
Where you've got police out there that clearly you go back, start looking through some of the things that are happening that are showing up in the news, and you're like, well, then you find out this guy, yeah, he's got this citation and this citation and this citation, but he's also got this over here, and there's this complaint that's been made, and this complaint that's been made, and that complaint that's been made, and it's you think about it, he went after one of the flag smashers and flat out killed him in front of everybody, and what was the fallout? He kept his military pension, right? But he was removed from his post, but then brought in as something else, right? Which we talk about a lot of times with, okay, you had a fairly questionable shooting that's highly controversial, but you get to move to a different department. Another department will hire you.
What I think will be kind of interesting about that is once we find out more about Julia Louis-Dreyfus, to find out if U.S. agent actually is government sanctioned or if she is Madam Hydra. And so it's not exactly government sanctioned. I think that's a very interesting place to go.
And which version of Madam Hydra is this?
Yeah.
Well, clearly one with enough government access that she could walk in that building and do the things that, and nothing happened.
Yeah, because I'm curious to find out if this is double agent version.
Right. And just because
I'm suspecting a crossover with the Veep, but go on.
Just because she was able to walk around doesn't even mean necessarily that she has power in the government. She has connections, and I mean that is a different kind of power. But
yeah,
I actually hope it's not a Hydra thing, because in the comics you've got a lot of space between Hydra stuff, so to speak. But here, the Hydra shield thing in Winter Soldier was so big, and still MCU-wise so recent, that I would be hesitant to promote that further. I do think that the Thunderbolts thing probably will happen because Daniel Bruhl has made such an impact with Zemo this time, where I thought he was amazing.
Yeah,
so good. And not just as a dancer.
I don't know. I haven't figured out yet if I like or don't like the fact they just didn't bother to fucking explain the fact that he wears a mask for a couple of seconds in one episode for no fucking reason. He just puts it on. Like, look, I've got a purple mask, and now I'm taking.
I think
it
in the
off.
behind the scenes, Bruhl just literally said, "I wanted to wear the mask."
Yeah, and they did have it in the car, and he looked at it like, yeah, I'll bring it. I'll put it on at some point.
As long as they make he and Elaine have a dance off.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
And I like the fact they continued with Sam doing what Steve did, and it's not so much about fighting bad guys, it's about fighting institutions. It's about standing up for the little guy, and that's what Captain America does best. Let the other movies be about punching a salvager. Why can I not say it? Salvager with metal wings. You know, Spider-Man can punch that guy, but Captain America takes on the big ideals, and I liked that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
And eventually,
go ahead.
And eventually, we might have to deal with the fact that, quite frankly, U.S. soldier or U.S. agent is also a son of Ego.
Nah. Yes, I get it, but nah.
Wow.
I was just gonna say the Dora fight scene I also enjoyed a lot.
All of the Dora fight scenes.
I think
yes.
everybody did.
But yeah, that was hilarious. Where John Walker's reaction was, they weren't even enhanced.
Look, Black Twitter came out of this show with two very, very long-standing jokes, right? One of them are all the memes that were created out of all of the Dora fight scenes and everything out of that episode, the things that were said, and John's reaction to it, all of it. Her taking off Bucky's arm, and everything, right? And then there's Bucky being invited to the cookout and him flirting with Sam's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself has been the other funny thing that has come out of it. Like
Even Sebastian Stan's been playing with that.
Right. There are literal comic pages that have been recut where it's Io, Storm, and Shuri having conversations. And Storm making jokes in regards to John's metal arm and what it can do and what it can't do. And I'm like, this is filth. I'm gonna keep watching.
And if I'm, and honestly, so everybody's freaking out right now because that sizzle reel they had the Fantastic Four logo at the very end, and so people are like, oh god. And my thing is, sure, the Fantastic Four is fine, and what they do with that will be interesting, but the sooner that we get an MCU Storm, the better.
real one
for everybody. Yeah, I mean, honest to God, like MCU casts a legit Storm.
Real one.
The closest we've had was the chick from Apocalypse, but she didn't get to do much.
Alexa Ship.
Yeah. Let's the less said about a X-Men Apocalypse, the better.
Yeah,
Storm was the best part. That's the only thing I came out of that movie is thinking that Apocalypse has a passion for redecorating, and that Storm was amazing.
But yeah, so that sizzle reel I thought was fucking fantastic, because we just had the Fate and the Furious or whatever 9 where Vin Diesel did the trailer. It's like, oh, we're all gonna come back to the movies. It's gonna be great. We'll see you soon. And then Marvel comes back and is like, drops that, where, oh yeah, here's this, and here's some Eternals footage, and oh, here's 3 name changes for films, and yeah, we're gonna tease the fucking Fantastic Four, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
I thought I mentioned this online, but the most surprising element of that is that they did not put a date on the Fantastic Four, because I thought they would. Because this is like the 3rd time they've mentioned it, so I was surprised they didn't put a date on it.
And I always want the MCU to troll people more than they actually do. But I'm just, if I had Kevin Feige's ear, I would beg him to. So when people were so freaking out about WandaVision, how the engineer was going to be Reed Richards, and it just turned out to be some random chick, I would so cast that random chick as Reed Richards.
Oh yeah.
So here's my idea, because you know the rumors about Chris Evans, right?
Which rumors about Chris Evans?
Coming back in some form or another.
On the internet again?
Yeah. But my idea for Chris Evans is let people have the rumors, whatever. Deadpool. Have like Old Man Steve and like bring Jackman back and have Old Man Steve and Old Man Logan doing Waldorf and Statler for the entire film.
Oh my God, yes. I would take
and that's all that is. It's just Chris Evans
I'd laugh
and Hugh Jackman having asides and like pissing on the film's plot.
Yes.
And put Chris Evans in his lights out sweater just so you can own that.
Oh my God, yes. How many people are like making those as we speak?
A lot.
Did you hear about that? I mean, for that sweater, like knitter heads everywhere were like reverse engineering that sweater.
And it was like, just found at like a thrift store or something, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it was like a Sears sweater. It's like it literally is a Sears sweater.
Is there really? Oh my gosh.
It's a Sears sweater they found at a Goodwill or something.
And the thing about Fantastic Four for me is that I trust them to do it properly and take the time necessary to make it work. And I think they will, because they understand it's been done dirty before.
Poorly before.
Yeah. And the only thing my only thing about the X-Men is part of me wants Storm and that, like, that generation of X-Men, and part of me wants somehow for them to start at the beginning and just not blow their wad, because I mean, that's the other thing the MCU does well is they don't blow their wad. Whereas like with the X-Men movies, it's like, let's get all the popular ones and let's squish them all together into a team at once, because we don't know if we'll get a second film. It's like,
so we start with Marrow and Maggot and
no, blowing our wad early in the show.
You know what? Actually, if you give Celia Ray as a Disney Plus show where she's treating all the mutants,
Cecilia Reyes?
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's my favorite. She is my favorite X-Man. She is my favorite X-Man because it's the X-Man that reacts the way normal people would react. When she gets powers, she's like, what the hell? You people are crazy. Put on spandex and save the world. I just want to go home. When can we go home?
It's like
Yeah.
her and it's like her. I can figure out like a medical TV show with like her and like
Rosario
yeah.
Dawson.
Rosario Dawson from like the Marvel, the Netflix shows,
Yes.
and like have them do like a practice where they just take care of like superheroes, and that's
I would watch the hell
It'd
out
be
of that.
Night Nurse.
So it would,
Yeah.
it would be
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Night Nurse.
yeah,
Yeah.
Night Nurse the
and I will-
series.
And I will say, if that Deadpool idea that you came up with a moment ago happened, let me just say I would buy my ticket 4 or 5 times if you could also manage to fit in there just a brief conversation between a younger Chris Evans and Michael B. Jordan.
Nice.
That would work.
Well, no.
Just have
and-
all the cameos. Spend so
Wait,
much
yes.
money on Deadpool with cameos.
Because the
Well-
thing is, with both Michael B. Jordan and Chris Evans, you could have other MCU characters thinking they recognize them, but they're not exactly who they think they
So-
are.
Well, that's
Why-
the whole thing with Deadpool, where somebody brought up the fact that you could recast somebody, and Deadpool would know because he breaks the fourth wall, and he
Yeah.
could make
No
sure
one
that
else.
you know he knows, but nobody else would know. I think if you do the Michael B. Jordan thing and Chris Evans, then you just have Bill Murray walk through in the background and just not say anything. That
Yeah,
would be
the-
the most impressive to me.
What I would do is a little more off kilter and weird. Is I would do that total thing with Chris Evans and Michael B. Jordan in the Marvel universe, but I would release at the same time a remake of White Men Can't Jump with them in it and put cameos from the Marvel people in that movie.
That's not a bad idea.
I know. Like they could play a team that's like Wesley Snipes from Blade. You know, it's like I mean, there's a bunch of shit they could do with it.
And with that Deadpool movie, you also get huge bonus points if you can somehow get Jay Underwood.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you. I was afraid that might have been a little
That's
too
great.
quick.
No,
No,
you did
great.
good.
well, and JJ, you got the Bill Murray thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't at first, but yes, I did.
Yeah.
I do
So
now.
Well, that was one of my favorite things about the second film is that they had the cameo of the entire X-Men cast in that one shot
Yeah.
with Beast closing the door, which I just sold me on that. I was already sold on the film, but I said, oh, that's perfect.
Oh, and that reminds. So I'm just going to throw this out there. This is apropos of nothing, but I'm just going to throw out there. I don't think they're planning this, but I think that there is the writing on the wall that if they wanted to make Evan Peters Wonder Man, I'd be all for it.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
it's that there is vaguely the roots in WandaVision, because you know that somebody in there is in the witness protection agents or in the witness protection program.
Mhm.
Simon Williams was a criminal and he had a theatrical resume.
He did.
So
I agree.
if you just wanted to bring him back, just because I like Evan Peters, he's one of my favorite actors, and if you wanted another person to rehab out of Fox and into the MCU, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Well, I just think I don't buy the whole
You're
Oh,
trying
we
to
must
still
have
make
gotten-
it work, right? You're still trying
I'm trying to still make it work.
Yeah.
The
I've
whole
kind
run.
of given up on it. It's like, yeah, just fake out. Just go ahead. It's a fake out. Just leave it alone.
But I'm like, but just don't. You cannot play that card again. You cannot play it. The
They're
card.
going to.
The
They're going
card.
to. Every time we fall for it, they're going to.
No, they're going to until we just completely deny it, and then it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, considering I was just saying I wish the MCU trolled a little harder. I'm fine with it, you know.
Yeah.
I also don't care if if somehow he does just sort of run into scenes super fast and go, "Hey, I'm Ralph Boner. My name is Quicksilver." I'm fine with that too.
I mean, there's got to be a moment in Moon Knight where Oscar Isaac has an
Oh.
apocalypse flashback, right?
Oh my. Yeah, and we don't have a.
Oh, we
They
forgot about that,
They
right?
literally shoot it in the same pyramid.
Yeah.
I hadn't made the connection. You're right. That is yet another double casting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he'll be good in that. I know it started production. Do we know when it's supposed to drop?
Well, let's see. Let me see if I remember.
2022.
20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we're full up for the year.
2022.
because we're supposed
We
to
have
still
3
get at
movies.
least Miss
It's-
Marvel. We're supposed
What's
to at
that,
least still
Tuffley?
get. We're supposed to at least still get Miss Marvel.
Right.
And
Well, Miss Marvel's
Hawkeye.
got to come out before Marvel's now. So
Yeah,
Yep. Well,
so we've still got to
that-
get that. She-Hulk
was-
is kind of somewhere in between now because I
Right.
bet that started.
Miss
I've heard
Marvel is
this
slated
thing,
to start around Dragon Con time, I believe.
And I know Ironheart, the writers' room has been assembled.
God, I fucking hate that name.
Me
But
too. But I still bought the action figure.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love the character. I'm like, Ironheart is the name of a historical romance novel set in some like, steel
that's not where I went.
town.
I went Silverhawks, dude. So I'm more obscure than you.
Well, at least they didn't name her Hot Wing.
I'm
True.
I have to admit, I'm kind of surprised that Ironheart got a series before Moon Girl, but
I think Moon Girl is still getting a show.
I mean, I suppose if you want to do Double
'Cause I know there's
Dinosaur,
an
it's
animated
probably
thing
a
that they
little
were
bit more
doing.
expensive, but
Yeah.
That's true. They had announced wasn't that with MODOK?
oh,
and
right.
Yeah. Well, I think that was moved. I think Disney Plus is still doing it because they still have a writer's room for it.
Right, and we know MODOK's about to come out.
Yeah, we know
Yeah.
MODOK's happening. But yeah,
Right.
I think that moved to Disney Plus. I think that's further on because I think that was originally announced for the Disney Channel and then they moved it.
I thought it was a Hulu show, much
Hulu.
like it was one
Hulu.
of 3 Hulu shows that I can't
were-
remember the third one because it was
Right. They were going to come together like the
Oh, Howard the Duck.
Defenders. They were going to come together like the Defenders, but like called I don't forget what they're going to be called, but
Oh no,
They
I
scrapped all
thought the
that.
third one was Tiger and Dazzler.
Oh God.
I
Hydra
okay.
and
I'd be
Dazzler?
fine with that.
Yeah.
huh.
Then you just with Dazzler, you're like, well, but what era of Dazzler do you want? I personally always vote for Disco Roller Skating Dazzler.
Yep.
But yeah, I think
Take
the
Dazzler and do it properly, I think.
As long
I
as we
think
get Long Shot.
the Moon Girl one's been just passed around a lot.
Hmm,
I think it's with Disney Plus now. I think.
that would make sense.
Okay, Long Shot can come into that X-Men series that I'm going to do with Maggot and Marrow and Gloop.
You're
Was
just
it
gonna bring the
Gloop or
gift.
Dupe? Wasn't
You're
it Dupe?
It's dupe.
Dupe.
I couldn't remember the one you can see his fucking eyes and his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that.
Oh,
God, what is
that's from the Morrison. That's from New X-Men.
Yeah.
Who is
Is
that?
Hang on. Yeah, I just love the fact that with Dupe,
Yeah, Dupe.
like
yeah.
Wolverine knows him from long ago, and he's like apparently been around for like decades or something like that. I loved that.
Apparently, there's supposed to be another X-Statix thing that's coming out soon,
Okay.
so I'm kind of
Yep.
excited about that.
So Moon Girl is getting 2022. It's definitely going to be animated.
Yeah, I knew it was animated.
Produced by Lawrence Fishburne.
Really? That's
Yep.
cool.
Larry?
Oh, he hasn't been Larry in a while. What is that guy's name? I
Look
know who you're
here,
talking about.
I will walk up and call him Larry right now.
Damien, I told you my Larry Fishburne story, right? Where so I was in New York and I was walking down the street like 2:00 in the afternoon, and I passed and he was still Larry at that point. I passed Larry Fishburne going the other way. And I realized, okay, he must be on his, because he was doing 2 Trains Running at that point on Broadway. It's like, okay, so he's on his way for matinee. Okay, cool. So the next day, I happened to be just by coincidence walking down the same street at the same time and passed him again, and he gave me a double take. Like, what? Didn't we just do this?
Yeah, you were stalking Lawrence Fishburne. Just admit it.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean,
First
now
of
I
all-
will say much
First
later.
of all,
I-
you don't stalk celebrities. This is how you go to jail, JJ.
I mean, the only thing I had that was
Right.
similar to that is when I saw Willem Dafoe carrying groceries, but that was the same time every month, so it's not quite the same.
I would have stalked him later in his career because I would have been like, why did you leave in the middle of the movie Predators? You were the only good part. Why did you leave me alone with that movie?
And he would have answered you and been funny.
Yeah, I know.
The celebrity that I used to run into all the time, but I don't think he remembered me for any reason. But for some reason, when I was living in LA, whenever I would go grocery shopping, it didn't matter what grocery store I would go to, Sam Jackson would show up.
That's awesome. When I lived
So,
in New
so was this after he was Sam Jackson or
Shaft era.
okay? Cool.
Nice.
Shaft was like in the theater at the time, and the thing is that it was fucked up about it is 'cause so years before that, when he was just becoming Sam Jackson, when he filmed that Grisham, was it Time to Kill?
Time to Kill.
So he filmed that in Mississippi, and so I worked at the only vegan restaurant in Mississippi, and him being a vegetarian, he would come in there and have lunch, and then he was just a nice dude that we knew he was an actor and stuff. By the time it got to the era of Shaft, I swear to God, one day I was like just looking at oranges. I was going to buy an orange, and all of a sudden, like over to my right, it just got cold. It was like there's, you know how you can feel when someone's next to you, and I look over and it's like all of a sudden it was like Sam Jackson, but I felt like he was way taller than he should have been, and like, you know, it was kind of like that thing where Gandalf does the whole like you shall not pass thing, where he gets bigger without looking bigger, or he looks bigger without actually getting bigger. That was Sam Jackson.
That was the weird thing for me. It was the opposite. When me and Widge went and saw RoboCop, I damn near knocked him over going to the bathroom.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I'm like, and that was when I was like, holy shit, he's a lot smaller than I thought. Like,
That was-
we ran in when I lived in
Ron Perlman's short.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Well, when I used to work
me,
for
everybody's short.
I used to work for a theater in LA called the Geffen Playhouse, and it was the board of directors was like David Geffen, Steven Spielberg, Katzenberg, and just ridiculously famous people. And so the first play I ever worked there was a show called Dinner with Friends that happened to star Rita Wilson. So at the time, you know, that was around the time Castaway was out, so everybody knew that Tom Hanks was going to be there. And the nature of LA is, if somebody really famous is there, you want to be there. So that opening for Dinner with Friends was insane, the amount of ridiculously famous people that showed up. And that's when I found out years before most people that Mel Gibson was a real prick. And Dennis Miller was obnoxious. But the funny thing to me was before the show, when everybody was just sort of hanging around the lobby, everyone was like, all of the actors and stuff were roughly like 5'5". And so the only two people there that were like 6'1", 6'2" were me and Tom Hanks. So we made eye contact all the time over everybody, and everybody else was just tiny. We were like two giants in a sea of Lilliputians.
That is not awesome. I get so disappointed sometimes. Like, I will run into people and I'm like, oh wow, you are your stature's much bigger on screen.
The one who fucked me up of that just was when I was at a coffee shop and I was standing behind Val Kilmer and realizing that he doesn't even come up to my shoulders, and I'm like, I am that much bigger than Batman.
Yeah, we saw him a couple of years ago at Atlanta Comic Con, and it was right after all the health issues and everything else. But like, even that, it's like, okay, all right, you know. And now I'm just used to it.
Yeah,
like, I'm actually more amazed when I see people and they seem like their actual stature,
their actual height that you think they are.
Yeah, right. It's really, really weird, because so there are guys that I've seen on TV that they look really, really big on TV, and then I run into them at the airport and I'm like, even Nicole said it. There was one actor, and we were like, wow, he's not as large as. Okay.
Yeah, Cusack was shorter than I thought he was going to be, but it's just because he's loud and bitter, it makes him taller.
Well, and especially after not even just Green Mile, everything that he was in, Michael Clark Duncan was normal sized.
Yeah,
which was amazing, because, like, again, I know in Green Mile they like would have Tom Hanks in a ditch or something to make him even bigger, but he looked big in everything. I mean, like what, Armageddon, and then
So he's wide.
Yeah.
He's wide. He's just not tall.
yeah, I know, but that was the
Daredevil.
one for me that was weird.
Oh God, Charlie's
Yeah.
What, huh?
Charlie Cox.
Yeah. Charlie Cox also, but when Michael Clark Duncan was in the other Daredevil.
Oh, oh, oh no.
But with
no.
I always liked the fact as well that like when in X-Men when they cast Hugh Jackman because he's 6'1", 6'2", that all of the other male actors had to wear like lifts and heels and shit to be able to look anywhere near.
That's what pissed me off about Robert Downey Jr. in Avengers, because he wears these shoes, and I was like, those shoes are awesome. Where can I get those shoes? And they're custom made because of the lifts in them.
Yeah. I mean the scene in the first X-Men movie where Cyclops like is wearing his visor under a hat, and so the kid looks up at him and he kind of like smiles at him.
Yeah.
He's standing on a box so the kid doesn't look too tall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like Josh Brolin, right? You keep thinking Cable, keep thinking Thanos, and I remember when we were out at dinner, and I'm like, oh, we were all in a group of people like together, and I'm like, wait, that's Josh Brolin. And my friends they were like, who? And I'm like, here. And I handed them the phone and they're like, oh, right. And everyone was afraid to address him for some reason.
Yeah.
And this was right when he's filming both Cable and all the Marvel stuff. And then so he's like going like Josh, and he goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, dude. I was like, Cable and Thanos at the same time, and he's like, I know, it's fucking great, ain't it? Right? and we hugged, and then that was it. Right?
Well,
I'm leaving. I'm like, I just ran into Thanos.
Yeah, I'm just like, you may be a Thanos, you may be Thanos, you may be Cable, but you're still a Goonie to me, buddy.
There you go. Now I'll tell you somebody who does hold up is Gerard Butler, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Nicole and I were. It was a movie he filmed here in Atlanta. It was Ice Cube's son, 50 Cent, a bunch of other guys. Where they're all criminals. Well, we were all at Fogo de Chao over in Buckhead for our anniversary, and there's this whole table, and it's just like, oh wow, I recognize all of those guys. The one dude from he's the leprechaun in American Gods. I can't remember his real name, and if you listen to this podcast, dude, I'm sorry I can't remember your name right now. But it was crazy. All of them, it's like 20 dudes at a table next to us. And then Gerard Butler gets up, and like every dude in the restaurant is like, "Oh shit, that's Leonidas!" Like his presence, like literally changed all the testosterone in the room.
Den of Thieves.
Den of Thieves, that's what it was.
Yeah, he filmed a soccer movie here called The Greatest Game,
I remember
he literally spent a lot of time in the Hill, which is where all the Italian restaurants are. And literally like just would buy random people dinner. Like they'd be like ordering dinner, and he would just randomly tell somebody over the course of like the 3 months you pay that guy's dinner. Just he was like randomly doing this for people. And he insisted nobody know. And then he went to like 2 or 3 kids' hospitals and stuff. I mean, the guy's just awesome. So
yeah, it's always good when like you hear good things, because we hear so much crap about celebrities. And the only other celebrity I know whose stature completely ever superseded their size, honestly, Prince. Right? I am fortunate enough that I've run into Prince a couple of times. He snatched my child out of my hands at one point when she was a newborn.
What?
So, long story short, speech.
No, we want the long story.
The short version is speech from House of from Arrested Development had House of Vagabond. Some people I was working with did some work with them. At that time, Prince was performing at Lakewood Amphitheater with Dallas Austin, who I've also did some work with. And so we were there at Lakewood, which is what I don't know what it's called now. That's why I'm calling it Lakewood Amphitheater.
I think it's
what? It's not Hi-Fi Buys Amphitheater?
No, it's not Hi-Fi Buys anymore.
It's changed so many names. Either way, I'm literally in the wings with this baby, right? And he just comes walking by. I was like, oh, such a beautiful baby. And snatches my baby. And I'm like, Prince just snatched my baby away from me and I didn't even do shit. I'm like, what am I doing? I am such a horrible father for
Very
many
hot.
reasons, but that's one
Here,
of them.
take my child. Take my child.
But that happened and gives the baby back. And then he and Dallas often go out and play. Prince hops on a piano, Dallas grabs guitar, right? Great show. Well, Prince always went to his after parties here in Atlanta. So I got to catch him at a couple of different nightclubs. I think the last one, I was across the street somewhere and he played at a club that's now called Opera or something. But back then it was called 1150. And they brought in a piano and it was Prince, jazz artist, flutist Najee, and Andre and Big Boy from Outkast. Impromptu, just playing, in the club. And then the other one though, previous to that, he's in the club and dude's DJing and Prince is dancing and nobody else is dancing because they're all watching him. And he was like, y'all motherfuckers gonna watch me or y'all gonna dance? And so everybody starts dancing because Prince just told everybody to dance. Now keep in mind, this man comes up to my nipple. I can breastfeed Prince. Even in heels. Right?
That's a shirt. You gotta get a shirt.
I heard boob.
Right. So it's like, right. But Prince tells you to dance, you dance. And unfortunately, that's not the only time my child was snatched out of my hands by a celebrity. That also happened at Jackie Chan's book signing. There's no fucking way I can fight Jackie Chan. He's like, oh, baby, and grabs the baby like he's Scott. And I'm like, what the right? And he was like, oh, Jane, who was a friend of ours at the time that was helping him with the book tour. So pulls us out of line, holds my baby, signs my book, and Jackie Chan gives me my baby back.
Signed.
Nice.
I'm just taking an ass whooping, it's
Did you try not to smudge the Prince signature on my baby? That's
Dad, why do I have
it was the 90s.
Why do I have these weird tattoos that are autographs?
Right.
They're birthmarks, kid. They're birthmarks.
So I remember when I met Joey Ramone.
Oh wow.
When you see him on stage, you're like, they're tall. Everybody on stage is tall. Right?
No, he's short.
Right.
Man.
And
he's short.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, wow. It's a hobbit. With lots of hair. I just remember
that slouch.
I met him. I was with a friend of mine at CBGB, and we were watching the show, and I'm like, that's Joey Ramone. That's Joey. I'm like, oh, whatever. So then I go to the bar, and I hear this guy say, excuse me, and I move over, and it's Joey Ramone. I'm like, oh, hey. And then my friend walks by and just goes, Sigmund, you're a rotten sea monster, and walks away. And I just started fucking laughing. And so I was laughing, and I turned back around, and he's still there waiting for his beer. He's like, you like the show tonight? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. And I'm like, there are no Ramones. And he goes, well, nobody is. And he walks away. And then there was a weird week in New York. Like every day for a week, I randomly ran into Moby.
Oh wow!
I
ran into him on the 6 train.
One of the first shows I did here in Atlanta.
I ran into him on the 6 train and then the Q train, which I'm sure you understand, Rock.
Oh my God, you're kidding? Yes, the Q train is like
and then
long.
Then I ran into him at the Strand, and then I went to the Angelica for a movie, and then it was just weird. And then we went to see the Inspiral Carpets, and we're in line, and sure enough, he's in front of. I'm like, dude, you are everywhere. Will you quit? And
he probably thought the same thing of you.
Well, it was funny because he kept trying to hit on my girlfriend, and she was like, she's like, this whole Christian fish thing is totally real, right? And he goes, oh yeah. She just shook her head, So yeah. And then we saw I think I told Widge this. We saw Sherman Hemsley on the subway. He gets on the train. He turns around to face out. The doors are closing, and just as the doors close, somebody yells out "Wheezy," and he did this eye roll. It was just he's standing there holding onto the strap on the train, and he's doing the eye roll, and I'm like, that poor guy.
So years ago, and I have nothing bad to say about this gentleman, but years ago we were at the Santa Monica Pier, and so my girlfriend and I made eye contact with Christian Slater, and he made eye contact with us as well, and he was there with his wife and his kid, and they were just out there having a day. But the problem is we made eye contact, and you make that eye contact where you're like, oh look, it's Christian Slater, and he looks, and he sees that you recognize him. But the problem is we were all out for a day at the Santa Monica Pier, so every time we would go to do something, we would like go to get in line, and we'd be like, fuck, Christian Slater's there. And so it became this shorthand for a long time of just sort of like, well, we were gonna go, I don't know, we were gonna go out to dinner, but fucking Christian Slater. And it has nothing to do with it, just other than the fact that the uncomfortableness of that, like, yeah, I recognize you, yeah, I know you recognize me, so then it feels like stalking, even though you're just, where else are you going to be? At Santa Monica Pier, there's not that much shit to do.
I literally it never happened all the years of Dragon Con. Well, you had the same thing, Damien. The year Peter Capaldi came to Dragon Con, I couldn't not run into him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah. Oh, mine was CCH Pounder.
Yeah, she loved her bike.
And she's like, oh, you're the bike lady. Yeah. So her and I became friends. So yeah, I would see her everywhere. Even when she was leaving, I rode by. I'm like, oh, you're kidding. And she started laughing when I just sort of like, hey, you're going. It was great. So
we've been here for 5 hours. You want to do introductions now?
The only time that sort of like celebrity thing is I recognize there was a documentary about Woody Allen's jazz band. Okay, I watched it. And I recognized his assistant before I recognized him. And I wanted to go up to her and say, I recognized you.
And this
nice
is why you're not
you.
in the movie.
And then just wander off.
You don't want to be in a Woody Allen movie. Just
Sir, we're not going there.
No. Well, this was years ago.
I'm already wrestling with the fact that I watched. I thought he was gone from the series before he apparently was. So I watched the first episode of The Nevers, and I've actually watched a couple of. And the thing is, I like the show, but like after that first episode, and it showed like written by Joss Whedon, directed by Joss Whedon, I felt so fucking dirty.
See, that's why I'm kind of staying away from it. But
I think as people have reviewed the series, I think they said the first episode was the weakest one.
The first two episodes are the two he directed, and they were way weaker than the last.
So you don't feel so bad about that because it gets better, and it's not the ones he's involved in. So
it just. But the setup, though, you do kind of watch it, and now that you know who he is, and you're just like, oh look, it's another Joss Whedon show where he threw prostitutes in.
And see, my wife gets to watch it unencumbered by any of the knowledge that we have. Right, that's how I ended up watching it.
Yeah,
because she started watching it, and I'm like, "What are you watching?" She was like, "Oh, The Nevers," and I'm like, "Oh, I should probably not ruin this right now. I'll wait."
That's what
It gets better, but once you get past the first two episodes are like feel like the weakest ones. So
So
we're past
did
them.
he create the show?
He created the show, and then all of this Justice League stuff happened, and depending on who's telling the story, there was an arrangement, and he's no longer involved.
Yeah, the announcement he made was that he just has so much on his palette of not working that he just couldn't fit that into his life.
No, he wants to spend time with his family and kids.
Yeah, and apparently, depending on who you ask at Warner's, he was either asked to leave or they mutually decided it probably wasn't a good idea that he stayed on.
You would like to leave, wouldn't you?
Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
We're not
because
going to
this is
ask you to leave, but it's a really
We're
good
not-
idea if
we
you did.
want you, yes.
You
You
can
want
have
us
what's-
to leave.
You can
Don't
have what's
I'm not
behind
sure
door number
this is
one
quite
or door
working
number two.
out for
I-
us.
Right.
I think it was put to him like, yeah, you can have your vanity project, but we're just going to cancel it. So if you'd like to not, have the show canceled,
If you leave, you can keep your producer credit and you'll still continue to get money. So
Yeah, and apparently the whole divorcing him from it works because this is the first I've heard he was even involved with it, and I've seen all the commercials and everything. So
they turned when they originally promoted this show, his name was all over it, and then by the time it actually got to broadcast, the things have happened and they pulled that all the hell back.
yeah, and like I said, and I watched it thinking that he had stepped away before it had gone into filming. And so when I saw his name at the end of the first episode, I was like, oh, fart noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently the show has gotten better in the episodes that he wasn't involved with. So I don't know if that's a glowing review, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've watched it. There's 4 episodes. I've watched all 4. I've liked the last 2. The last one hit on like a labor issue that worked real well for me. I got real mad at my TV. But yeah, I just, I do kind of cut off before the credits start because you don't want to see that executive produced by Joss Whedon, because you just kind of, for an hour, you don't think about that. And then you feel all dirty when it's over. It's like,
yeah, I wasn't going to watch it, but maybe I will now.
It's okay.
Well, don't think of it as supporting Joss Whedon.
Okay.
Think of it as supporting everybody else on it but Joss Whedon.
Well, it's not that as much as it's just there's so much crap out. I just kind of wait until.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way. I'm behind on everything.
Also, they very smartly use Nick Frost quite well. So,
right.
Yeah, see, that was the clincher for me, because to me, it's like in what you call it, Into the Badlands.
Into the Badlands, yeah.
Yeah, where he was in a market, an outdoor market, and picked up an octopus and used it like nunchucks. That is still one of the greatest moments of television I think I've probably ever seen. It was amazing.
Yeah, he's a rather swarmy character in this one as well.
Yeah. And the other thing, the Nethers does Nevers, not Nethers, but the Nevers.
That's a different show.
That's a different show.
That's a different HBO show.
That's on Cinemax, actually.
Yep.
But the Nevers also kind of falls in that sort of, if you have to find your moral ground as to what, like you were saying, support the actors or not. It was done in a time where nobody took that project knowing they were working with an asshole. So like, I don't feel bad for not.
Right.
You don't feel bad for anybody who works on a Roman Polanski movie, because at this point they know who they're working with.
Yep.
Same thing with Woody Allen. But these people that took this job, or Mel Gibson, or a lot of other shitbags now. But we didn't know he was a shitbag until these people got a job, and then they're just working.
Yeah, well, it's like I just saw the trailer for season 4 of Castlevania, which is going to be the final season.
Oh God, and
Yeah.
I'm surprised that's not getting a bigger blowback than because really,
because he
what I've
wrote it
seen is-
like he wrote it like 2 years ago or something like that. So it way before he got
but
Me Too'd.
I'm just surprised there hasn't been more of a connection to a blowback to that. I don't think people have made the connection to that.
I think the average person and most of the viewers will not have associated him with that, because they're not his typical audience.
Yeah, and also I think the fans of the show don't fucking care. They just want their 4th season.
Right. That's the other part.
I will be amazed if they still have the created by Warren Ellis credit at the beginning.
We're about to find out.
Yep.
It's been in all of the promotions so far, but I
Really, because the trailer I saw didn't have it.
it's muted. It's muted a lot, but they do have. I think the credit's still in there, and I think I've seen his name in the reviews that I've been seeing that they're starting to drop. So
Well, I mean, yeah, because if I was
Yeah.
reviewing it, I would definitely bring that up. I'm just saying the credit might still be there, but is it directly after the title in the title sequence like it was previously?
I don't know. I don't know
Right.
if that I don't know if that's gonna be I don't know if you get to see that until the closing credits now.
Yeah.
Which again, Netflix puts in a box, so you never see them anyway. So
Much like much like this isn't like Joss Whedon's The Nevers. It's The Nevers, and then at the end, you get
Yeah.
Joss
Right.
Whedon.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that particular one for Castlevania is a tough one for me too.
Well, and the sad thing is, comic book fans and gamers are not exactly the most traditionally not the most desiring. They're not necessarily the group that necessarily is going to go, oh, don't work with that person anymore. I mean, let's not forget what is it, CB, can never remember his last name, the editor-in-chief at
Marvel, who
At
pretended to be a
Marvel.
Japanese
So-
person.
Sapolsky?
yeah, he's still in charge. You know, people just
Wait,
went, well, that's
Didn't he portray
bad.
him being someone else altogether?
Asian. Yeah,
Asian,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, he wrote comics.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote
Well,
comics
I mean-
pretending to be Asian.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for Castlevania with me is like you said, that he wrote that a while back before anybody knew, and B, I don't want it to fail because it is a testament to the ability of adult animation to work, which is a breakthrough that is so slow here. And
Although I have to
really
say,
want more
I
of
kind of
that.
feel like that is actually playing into more of like the curse of Konami lately.
The
the
curse
larger-
of Konami.
The larger Konami curse. Well, because a lot of Konami stuff has been like sort of crashing and burning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They actually pulled out of E3 this week because, well, we don't know why, but they were originally going to have some big announcement, which they have now pulled back on. So,
Oh, okay.
That's the problem with Konami, man. Their fortunes, man. They go up, and then they go down, and then they go left, and
Yep.
or left, right.
that's right.
A's
Yeah.
and B's.
A, B
all over the
before
Up,
they ever
up,
start.
down, square, triangle.
I actually haven't seen a Konami slot machine in the wild, but I wonder if the Konami code gets you anything on the slot machines.
99 quarters and 99 continues.
I get all my fucking Contra quarters back.
Never getting your contract.
They owe
Good
me
luck.
for that. But no, they were supposed to make some sort of a big announcement. Apparently, it was supposed to be the Silent Hill thing that wasn't the one that turned into Death Stranding. So,
Oh,
But
the
that was-
Village one?
no, that's Resident Evil.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Silent Hill is a different series, but apparently they were going to announce a Silent Hill game, which I'm a little suspicious of any Konami game announcement because they haven't been doing anything other than slot machines for years. So
Nope. And they're not going to E3.
nope. So, but they were supposed to have some sort of Silent Hill announcement because originally, if I remember correctly, they screwed up something on the production. They cut Kojima's budget on the last Metal Gear Solid game. And they were the ones pushing the episodic thing, apparently. And so they they terminated the Silent Hill project, and that's why he left the studio, apparently.
Basically, they had that Silent Hill game all ready to go, and then
Yes.
they realized that at the last minute that they absolutely have to change out the main character for a 7-foot woman in an old dress.
Hey,
What?
hey.
What?
You leave Lady Domascu alone.
What?
Right?
The
You
different.
back off. Back off.
I'm
So, Widge, you have
confused.
not been on thirsty Twitter, I guess, in a while.
Widge is
No,
never on thirsty
there is
Twitter.
a-
Widge is
there
on
is a-
black Twitter.
There's a you gave him the password. So
No,
there's
like I told you, I get the takeout. I get the takeout from Damien.
I did
but there's
not
a,
give Widge the password.
Resident Evil, was it from? I can't remember.
Resident
Yes.
Evil 8.
Yes, it is.
The
Yeah.
upcoming Resident Evil, yes.
Yeah, they revealed a vampire woman who's like 7.5 feet tall that everybody
She's
thinks
9 feet, sir. She's 9 feet.
okay, 9 feet tall that everybody is enamored with.
I think this was what who had the was it the PlayStation one? It was the PlayStation one where they had the trailer that she was in, and everybody started to try to figure out actually how tall she was.
Right.
Yes.
And then when they did I think they had a trailer in one of the Xbox ones, and apparently the designers actually came out with more details than you ever really wanted to know about any video game protagonist ever.
And
So
now
She's
is
the
this,
protagonist, yeah.
is this where they did a cut scene where she goes through one of like a doorway of a convenience store where they've got the measurement tape on the side? Is that how they figured it out?
You must be this tall. You must be this tall to be a vampire.
And and now there are articles out there going, no, you don't actually want her to sit on you. She would actually kill you.
She is actually
No.
9'6". Okay.
What the? So basically, this is
With
revealing a bunch of
huge tracts
people's
of land.
an Amazon fetish that they didn't realize they had. Is that what it is?
Oh, we realized we had it.
Or they did know they had it.
I mean, we knew we had it.
But
No,
basically,
I mean, but to be fair,
Sir, I
to
watched
like,
the WNBA.
to be fair to like, Capcom horror game fans, they were doing this with Nemesis a couple of years ago when they did the remake. So
Diana Taurasi.
it's not a new
called
thing.
it.
It's just a
That's
different
it.
fetish.
That's where you did. Now we're gonna have like an arms race of tall female protagonists in video games. Lars is 10'3". Lars is 10'7".
The tall woman.
that's why they're holding back on Silent Hill.
We're gonna put her in lifts.
We're gonna remake Great Expectations, but when you get into the old mansion, it's actually a woman who's 12'6".
Ah,
Oh my God! No wonder he left her.
In
at the
Decaying
altar.
lace.
And that
Oh my
cake.
God.
that's the Lucas Games remake of the popular point and click Great Expectations game.
And if you if you freeze the cutscenes just right, you might see a nipple.
Oh!
Oh.
Ah! All right, I'm going.
At 12 feet, that's a large nipple, I would assume.
You would assume, but
I
you
would
never
assume
know.
that. I don't know.
I thought I heard boob.
She's been sitting in that room for decades.
That's why she's a
Don't know where
vampire.
that nipple's been.
Probably not far.
We don't care.
Oh my God.
Dusty undead nipples.
With extra long
With
razor
really bad
fingernails.
wedding cake.
Yes, really old wedding cake. Which,
Oh.
if you're gonna go for fetishists, she'll probably sit on at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure I remember that being a Yahoo group. That's all I remember.
They're touching it with their
Notes.
little dirty hands.
alt.binaries.old.wedding cake.
Wow.
Wait,
There's-
where's the
there's-
wedding
there's-
cake?
There's slash fic on
That's
that.
really specific.
Hey, alt.binaries got specific. I'm just saying.
Check out the Reddit.
I get it in
That's
my
true.
mouth every time.
Thank you, Aaron.
That everything's on Reddit. There's a subreddit for everything.
I'm gonna go
Slap-
create one for John's fake mustache.
All right, kids, I need to go.
All
Okay.
Oh,
Bye,
so I'm
Rox.
I'm watching the latest wrist slashing kind of show,
What?
and
Huh?
and The
What?
Handmaid's Tale season
Oh.
4 is
Oh,
back.
oh, okay.
Oh.
I was getting ready to say what?
What? Oh, because every week it's another, drag her back into Gilead, and she's trying to escape, and there's, just so much torture.
Do you have the
can
feeling when
watch.
you're watching it is like you feel like maybe they've gone one season more than they should have?
Oh, they signed up for 5th season. I'm like, oh God, no.
Yeah. It's like
But
that's the comments I've been seeing is like this show, why is this show still going?
I know. It's like this, honestly, 4 should be it. Really. It should be. Because even Margaret Atwood's like, when she wrote the book back in the 80s, I think she even thought like it's a short timeline for, so that she rewrote an epilogue like at the anniversary. So you actually saw that it was somebody discussing what happened maybe 20 years
Kind of like a flashback
in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did she write the book sequel to try to help the TV show?
Oh,
Don't really go this
I
direction.
haven't
Oh,
I
the
haven't
TV show
read
was the
that.
TV show a thing yet?
Yeah, I mean
Yes,
that's
Yeah. Okay.
The book's recent.
So
it just came out in the last
yeah.
couple of years.
Yes, the Testaments. I haven't read that yet. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe, So I'll tell you one thing though. With the insurrection, I know this is political.
Oh, that's never stopped us.
No, but that's how Gilead came to be. Was something similar. So when that was unfolding, I'm like, oh dear God, she was right. That it was just, they took out Congress. They were able to do that and, then install, Gilead. That's how that was done. And when I'm watching it, it's just like, who else is watching that show going, holy crap, we really dodged a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
If you had, smarter people, which thank God there weren't, we would be talking a different thing today.
Yeah, if that had been conceived by smart people, come on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's the terrifying thing about, and that's why sci-fi should be read, of what we're now in a brave new world. There's always been comments about, 1984, but really we're kind of in that brave new world with Aldous Huxley.
I think we absolutely need to teach science fiction and horror in schools, because think about it. If you taught like post-apocalyptic like plague fiction, then the pandemic would have gone much differently. People would have been like, mask? Absolutely, I would love a mask. Please give me. In fact, I'll wear 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're going to spend a semester talking about The Stand.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't be a semester, really. That would have been an entire grade year, Wedge.
Well, I'm talking about the cut version, which is the good one. Not the
No,
uncut one. That's crap.
No, because I remember my English teachers inflicting the most amount of damage. That would have been a grade year. That would have been you're reading the expanded version, and we're going to expect chapter reports.
No.
Or even like the Andromeda Strain, and that is a snoozer of a film. But
and by the way, Teachers of America, that is the best way. If there is a genre you really hate and you don't want to inflict, you would rather people not read it, assign it.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I'm watching Handmaid's.
Oh God.
So that's it's that weird guilty pleasure thing. You just want to
it's just more guilt. It's really guilt.
Yeah.
It's that guilty
there's
guilt.
No pleasure. There's no pleasure in it. There's just guilt.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. This is true. But I do read like the articles about like the clothing, the shoes. That's actually a really cool show if you are into the, not so much the costuming, but the theory of the costumes and how art directors choose, certain clothing for certain characters.
Yeah.
That's really always interesting, so I do watch that. So all right, so I'm going to do a quick recommendation.
Go for it.
All right, so My boyfriend is he's not always looking for something new. He's searching. So I only because he made me this really lovely this. So he's gotten into rope making. And I asked him, like, well, can you make me a hangman's knot? And he's like, no. So he made me this heart.
It's a rope pretzel heart.
It's a rope pretzel heart. Yes. So it's actually a really cool thing, and it harkens back to ye old days. And it is the SCHACT, SCHACT, incredible rope machine. You, during the apocalypse, can make your own rope.
This is good. This is good.
Yes.
Remember, that was SCHCCACC. I don't. There's a lot of letters.
See you real soon.
The incredible rope machine. Yeah,
Why?
so,
Because it's the apocalypse, and we're all coming
it's the
together.
apocalypse. Yeah, it is. It is. There you go. Bye, kids.
Bye. Goodbye.
Oh my.
I don't know if we can go anywhere after the rope making.
Yeah, I was worried we were going to go someplace during the rope making.
I only had one. I wanted more.
Fetishizing large fictitious women into rope making. It's a logical transition.
And old wedding cake.
Yeah. It's a Wikipedia article waiting to happen.
Oh.
Just don't get the squirty kind.
Sounds like our old governor.
Oh. I have questions and yet I don't.
Oh, just
do you really want the answers to any of those questions? Mitch?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like
I make no
holding back.
accusations. I am friendly and kind.
Although I am pretty sure that our old governor, if that was a British show, it would be a comedy about like retired people, but in America, it would be a show on like public television.
Pledge Drive week.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have any of you guys seen that fucked up picture that came out yesterday of the Bidens next to the Carters?
No.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong. I mean, people throw around the term Lynchian a little too often, but it is severely the most David Lynchian thing I've ever seen. They're on like the Carters are in these chairs that make them look like they're like in the chair at Pee-wee's Playhouse. That's way too big. And then Biden and his wife are like kneeling next to them, and they look like they're 8 feet tall.
It's an awkward Dragon Con photo.
Hold on,
That is
Jay-Z and
really
Beyonce?
bizarre. It's really, really bizarre.
Telling you, man, it's an awkward Dragon Con photo.
Yeah, I just saw that. That's really weird.
Look, Jay-Z and Beyonce typically make everyone kneel around them. It's just a thing.
Oh my
I
God.
I don't know exactly what made me think of that, but that's just like that has been the most like fucked up image from the internet of the last couple of days.
Yeah, can somebody that take that and like Photoshop them into the Black Lodge? Because that would be great.
I have already seen somebody Photoshop the you just said her name a minute ago, Madman, the Resident Evil lady.
Oh, yeah, Dimitrescu or whatever.
Yeah, I've already seen somebody Photoshop her into the image.
Oh God. This is weird. Yeah. So it does make the Bidens look like fucking giants next to them.
Yeah.
Like they're standing next to some like puppets that they're holding their hands up their ass.
I mean, because I've always joked that because I have short legs and a long torso and I'm broad shouldered, I tend to look like if you put me in a picture, or if you put me like in a group photo with a lot of normal sized people, I look like I'm photoshopped in at a forced perspective. It's just the way I'm built. I hate it. It's why I don't really like images of myself. But when I looked at that, I was like, that looks like what I've always said of like they photoshopped them in at the wrong perspective.
Yeah, well, and here's the other part. This is taken from a very weird perspective, but the other thing I'm noticing about the photo, it's something that I can recognize, which is my father was a much larger man when we were younger, right?
Right.
And you keep in mind how old Jimmy and Rosalind are,
Right.
right? You shrink considerably.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's kind of with Biden being X amount of tall, Rosalind's not a tall woman at all whatsoever. So when you put two very tall people next to older people who have considerably shrunk a great deal,
Yeah.
And they're in their 90s.
You're right. And so there's a lot of that's in that photo that I'm like, oh, okay, I can see, because I'm like, you're right. It looks like it's almost photoshopped, and then I'm like, oh.
Part of it is the perspective of the Bidens next to the chairs. Even the chairs look a little too small.
Yes.
I just thought this was like concept artwork for the new Amazon Lord of the Rings series.
Sir, as a fine Southern gentleman like yourself, you are not allowed to disparage Jimmy and Rosalind Carter.
Whoa.
He did a book signing here, and
gentlemen,
it was insane, the line of people that wanted to get a book signed by Jimmy Carter.
Yep.
It was way bigger than the line for either Bernie or Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce Springsteen had a huge line
right before he went on stage.
I wouldn't make him less understandable. I mean, that was the one thing. Is so I know people I know people that worked at that bookstore, and his publicist kind of was like, "Okay, Bruce, say hi to all the nice people that worked your event." And I guess he pretty much talked to people exactly how you would expect when he was like, and then left.
So he was a Muppet, is what you're saying.
Basically.
Do.
Strangely enough, they play it for 48 hours, and the audience loves it. A big horn solo in the middle.
Oh, that would be amazing.
It's almost as great as when he gets the whole band to go near.
And you can't do that with reed instruments.
That's great.
Actually, I saw years ago when I saw the Bare Naked Ladies play, they did that. Actually, they played near far with. I felt the worst for the bass player though, because that was a big fucking instrument to lug around.
Oh my God. Well, while we're at this pausing point, we should probably lean towards recommendations, because I think it's getting that time.
Yes, I have to work in the morning. I have to go into the office.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta work too, and I hate my boss. So
hey, me too.
Yeah.
You should be kinder to your boss, Widge. You should be.
Everybody hates my boss. All right, who wants to go first?
I don't have much, so I can go.
Go, JJ.
I was mainly I was going to do something that I feel like I should have done on here a long time ago, and the fact that I have amazing, legitimately like talented musical friends that have music out there that you can get. And I feel like I should have a long time ago told people to get my friends' music, and I never have. So the first one I was going to recommend is my friend Matt Lees. You can get his album on Amazon. His first record is called Two Sides to Every Hero. He does sort of blues-based rock. He's a great guy. He's the guy who like let me stay with him when I went to Wales. But that has nothing to do with the fact that he's actually legitimately, it's just good tunes. And so it's should be right there. Sorry, I was giving somebody my car keys. But yeah, it's legit good, just blues rock. I highly recommend it. Two Sides to Every Hero. And then I have another friend who plays in a sort of a stoner metal band here in Portland. metal is a big thing here, and so I thanks to vaccinations got to hang out with my buddy that I haven't seen in a long time, and I bought his record off of him. It's kind of fun because if you buy it on LP, the LPs are random, so you never know what it's going to look like. I got one that's like translucent green with little black flecks. But the band is called Old Kingdom. The album is called Flowers. And if you like just loud Portland style sort of aggressive metal, it's really, really good. It's not something you put on politely in the background. It's something that you put on, and it's going to take over your space. It's really, really good. And then the last thing I will say is a friend of mine that they don't really play so much anymore. You can't really buy their stuff, but you can find them on YouTube. It's a band called Still Stanley. Guys that I went to a school of performing arts, and they were in they were in the theater part, and then they went in to play instruments, and so they went over to the musical part. They are early 2000s era rock. If you live in LA, you know that at one point in time there's always that band in LA that is like the hot band that never gets the recording contract. And that was my friend's band, Still Stanley, for a little while. The amount of times that you would hear how they like at one point they signed a contract to do a television theme. They went into the studio, recorded it, and filmed an episode of the show. And then less than a week before it aired, some studio executive decided that because it was a show that like had that same demographic as like Dawson's Creek or something, that it had to have a hit single. So they got their song ripped off the show at the last second and replaced with Smash Mouth's All Star. And then the show got canceled right before the episode where they filmed. So that break went up in smoke. But they've got a couple albums on YouTube, like No Soap Radio, but they're just Still Stanley. They're just really good, just rock in the style of like pop rock that you don't necessarily hear as much. So those are my friends' bands I would recommend. And while I'm speaking of music, the last thing I will say is I picked up the Fratelli's new record, and it's really fucking good.
Damn it! All right, hold on.
Wow.
You have to make sure you chamber around after each time it goes off.
Welcome to the club.
I did not realize you were a Fratelli's fan, but
Oh,
it's a mellow album, but it's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's such a good driving album.
I was not expecting it to be good either, because there's been such a long layover, and
yeah, they waited a long time to put it out, but it's just a solid, like I said, just if you're driving around the town just doing errands and stuff, it's a great record to have on in the background. Great record. And I'm lost to remember the name of it right now, but it's a good record. Oh, Half Drunk Under a Full Moon. But yeah, good record. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm done.
Cool. Thanks, JJ. Who's next?
I can go.
Go, Tevlink.
So we are in the season of everything being remixed and reissued, and the My Bloody Valentine back catalog is starting to drop with some remasters. Isn't Anything and Loveless are already are out digitally. I think it's later this month where you can get the physical copies.
They're pretty.
Yes, I've seen pictures.
Hold on. Okay,
Do you have
go ahead.
it? Okay.
No, I'm
And,
gonna see if I can get you one. Hold on.
Okay. And then they have the EP collection, which we haven't been able to get, and I'm still not absolutely sure that you're going to be able to get it in the States because record company weirdness. But I got an import copy. Ta-da! And it's pretty good. It fills in some blanks that you haven't been able to get, and that's also remastered. So if you have a chance and you're curious, go check out the My Bloody Valentine remasters because they're good. And
New album in the fall.
Sure. I'll believe it when it's surprised released. Like
I'm guessing it's an old album they probably made like 15 years ago, but finished.
It's got to be one of the Interscope ones. It's got to be one of the.
That's what I'm thinking. Is it something that's kind of just ready to go?
Yeah, because otherwise Kevin's gonna have like a Prince vault, right? He's gonna have like because what's the urban legend is that there are 4 albums that that Interscope did not release.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that, but sure. I'll believe we get one when we get one.
Oh, I think it's just going to be the Lost Things or something.
Sticking with music, Death from Above 1979 has the new album out
Yes.
called Is For Lovers, which I think is sort of the furthest electronic thing they've done. They usually typically just do the 2-piece, but they're also adding a lot more electronics on this album. I think this one and the last album they added a lot more electronics as well. But it's really nice. It's a really good loud record as well. In the same vein as that, the new Royal Blood album called Typhoons is out. And weirdly, they're also doing a little more electronics on this record. And I think Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age produced it. So it's definitely got his feel to it. I think quite possibly he's been hanging out with Mark Ronson too much, but it's a pretty good record as well. I will. I know we Widge and I have talked about this, but I will go ahead and recommend, if you have not seen it yet, check out Tenet on HBO Max. Because apparently they have fixed the audio issue that I think Widge mentioned in his review, where you can actually understand the dialogue now, and that really does help a little bit on understanding what the hell's going on in the film. So
we didn't have any issues at our viewing.
Huh?
We didn't have any issues at our viewing.
Yeah, but I guess these are home setups. So apparently there was in the audio mix in, I guess, the pay-per-view release earlier that I think Widge did his review on. And Widge, you can explain this, but there was an audio thing about the dialogue being low, and I think it was Atmos or something.
Well, basically it was mixed for not humans.
Yeah.
And I actually, between watching it and doing the review, I looked up to see, okay, what have I just lost what's left of my hearing? And no, there are a bunch of articles that was like, what's up with the sound in Tenet? And they had just basically made the choice to drop the dialogue in the mix to where it was hard to understand them at certain points, which becomes frustrating when all of your dialogue is basically trying to explain what the hell is happening at any given point in the story.
Yeah.
So it
apparently
really adversely affected the film.
And apparently it broadcast on HBO over the weekend, this previous weekend. And one of the things that HBO does is that they do kind of tweak the mix a little bit on films intended for broadcast. So apparently the dialogue is further up in the mix now. So the version that's on HBO Max is the version they broadcast on HBO. So if you were one of those people that had that problem when you had it on pay-per-view, or I think it's still the home version is still that way. So if you have the Blu-ray, that's still there. But if you did want to, if you want to see a mix of the film that has the dialogue further up the mix, HBO Max is probably the way to go, because they're airing the version they broadcast. So
yeah, and my problem is it's what, like 2.5 hours or something like that.
It's 2.5 hours. It's still a good chunk of your life. It's still a good chunk of your life.
I'm not going to watch it again. I've already invested enough time in that.
and I've described it to people as one of the really good Doctor Who episodes, and that's about as far as I can go with it, really. And honestly, if you've watched particularly Moffat's run on Doctor Who, when he does the more Tommy crazy stuff, I think it's easier to follow if you're used to that. If you're not, you're just not gonna get it. So it is kind of twisty in that sense, where you have to keep up with which character is going in which direction,
right? If they were working
without spoiling it.
if they were working on fixing on elements, did they manage to get some of the pretentiousness and Nolan's head out of his own ass, sniffing his own farts?
No.
God, no, they just fixed the audio.
No.
That's not miracle work. That's just they just fixed the audio.
Granted, I haven't seen it, but I Nolan, I like hate.
JJ just be asking for a lot.
Hey, I watched the fucking Zack Snyder Justice League. I mean,
I know.
Well, see,
I know.
Everyone did.
Look,
I did.
it was still improvement over what we got.
still, it was so self-important, and it reminded me. And I know this is a controversial take to say with Madman on the call, but it also reminded me why I fucking hate Batman. But that's a whole other thing, and it shouldn't go into recommendations.
That's just sad.
I'm going to cut that rebuttal off and say I'm done.
Who robbed this man of the joy in his life? I don't want.
Billy Dade.
He needs a hug. I mean, shit.
He's hugging a Happy
touch,
Meal.
A year of not touching people, and this is what happens. Shit. JJ, fuck.
I'll take Spider-Man over Batman any day of the week.
I can understand.
Oh my
that.
God.
I can understand that. There's a certain amount of trauma you have to identify with.
Well, wait, okay, real quick. I will say this in the most quick way I possibly can.
Oh Jesus.
Gotham doesn't need Batman. Gotham needs Bruce Wayne. Show me a story where whether you show me the guy who scrubs toilets at Wayne Tech owns a house, and then I'll be okay with the amount of money that Batman throws away. And in
So
Justice League,
here's
he
the deal.
literally says, "What's your superhero? I'm rich."
Rich, yes. At least he acknowledged it finally.
Yes, but he's responsible for others, and he could help
He
Gotham so
is.
much by being, again, prove to
I
me
remember
that
when he gave out, he took a guy who was a goon and working for the Joker and gave the guy a job, and it allowed him to pay for his family.
But
take care
how
of his
many
family.
of Batman's villains are people that worked for him and have a problem with him? Because
Well, that's
does-
their problem. Maybe
Don't make me laugh
should
too hard
Thank
to
you,
move
Jeffy.
along.
Have we considered human resources should do a better fucking job of vetting people?
or he could fucking pay people to where they could survive and actually put money into Gotham. I
They
am
could
way
survive,
too
but they're too
socialist for
busy
Batman.
injecting themselves with shit and experimenting on
So-
shit and turning into evil villains.
So
Right, and
really
if he's
what
gonna
you're-
have people experimenting on stuff, why doesn't Bruce Wayne have like a fucking company hospital, not a clinic,
He
but a
does.
hospital attached? No, he doesn't. I've never
So-
seen that in a Batman story ever.
So basically,
I'm
Wayne
gonna go
Tech
pull
has
it
the
up for
same
you.
problem as Oscorp, where they just don't have, an adequate HR department to vet people.
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
I want
HR is useless.
Oscorp seems to have the same problem.
I
mean, to
want
be-
my billionaires not to be Elon Musk. I want my billionaire or fucking Bill Gates or any of that. I want my fictitious billionaires to actually put something back.
He did put something back.
No good billionaires.
Look, man, he puts people's wigs back every episode. What are you talking about?
hey, Damien, go easy on Billy Bragg over there. It'll be all right.
and to be clear, I'm much more okay with Batman in like Justice League type stories. It's when they focus on
It's
Gotham
okay, Butcher.
that I get mad.
Wow.
Batman does wrong what Daredevil does right.
Daredevil got tons of problems. We're not going.
Daredevil does have tons of problems.
We're
but
not
he
gonna.
spends
We're
every
not gonna
moment-
devolve into this tonight.
He spends every moment of
Too late.
his secret life helping people.
Uh-huh.
But he's
And by secret life, I mean Matt Murdock.
Not the other secret life. That's a completely other. That's a completely different.
Right.
book.
Poor Matt.
Sorry, I fucked up recommendations. I just,
No, no.
No, you're fine. You're
If you ever
fine.
want to have this debate online, I will moderate it.
It's
That's gonna be
I
a
will-
spin-off podcast.
I will now go into recommendations because I have to go to work in the morning.
Okay,
Bat
yes,
Cumberbatch.
Damien, go.
And this goes back to something we talked about earlier in the podcast with stuff we liked about Falcon and Winter Soldier. So the closing song, "On and On," from the end of the finale episode, is by a gentleman by the name of Curtis Harding. It actually came off the album "Face Your Fear," which he released in 2017.
It's a good album.
Right. I think, man, the music that was curated for Falcon and Winter Soldier was actually really good for parts of it. And so, we were like, hadn't heard that song before. Where's that? So went, looked that up. So there you go. My recommendation for this week is actually courtesy of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's Curtis Harding's "Face Your Fear." It's an older album, but definitely well worth the listen.
Nice.
There, short, sweet, to the point. Not going to riff on billionaires. Just going to stay right here in my middle class home and enjoy life.
I did something similar to that with the soundtrack to Lovecraft Country. I went to Spotify and have been looking up that stuff. It's great.
Which is why I can't wait to see Wunmi Masako again in Loki.
Oh yeah,
she's that main guard you see in the trailer. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Simple, straight to the point.
All right, Rob, over to you.
Wow. Okay. So where should I start? Okay, so I'm gonna start with 3 quick records. First is a self-released record. We're all about helping people that self-release their records and make them during pandemics and put them out. I'm buying artists that I not particularly am fond of their music, but I'm buying them for other people so the artists get the money because they're fucking making something right now and it's their livelihood. So support your local bands and your local music venues and your local businesses. All right, so I'm going to recommend Julianne Worden, "Goodbye Forget Me." It's kind of like if Tori Amos made a record with Regina Spektor and was sad, it would sound like this. So I'm going to recommend that. And then I can't believe these 2 records came out in the same month, and it's great. The first is Godspeed You Black Emperor, who are touring next year. I told Widge it was weird, like I'm buying concert tickets. But yeah, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Godspeed at State's End. And yes, the songs are long, but songs used to be long, kids. Deal with it. If you like long songs, you might try jazz. So yeah, it's everything you expect it to be, and it's great. And it's surprisingly well timed considering the times we live in. Also, Floating Points and Pharoah Sanders have a record with the London Symphony Orchestra called Promises. It's Pharoah Sanders. Okay, I mean, outside of like Sun Ra and Ornette Coleman, he's like one of the last living pioneers of fucking jazz that we have. So Pharoah Sanders, and it's great. It's just all the way through. There are kids I know that are like rock kids that are running to buy this record, and it's their gateway to jazz. So, and it's really, really tight. So, and it's been a long time since I've recommended anything quasi jazz. I haven't looked for new jazz in like ages, and it's just like, oh my God, this is great. So yeah, I'll recommend that. And then a book that came to me. I had no idea it was coming out. This guy self-released it, but it's called 1984 British Pop's Dividing Year by David Elliott. And it is all about the year of 1984 in British pop. I mean, you had this weird jazz revival. You had hip hop finally hitting England. You had new wave. And then you had like, these old bands that were still around, plus Band Aid and all this other crap. And it's really interesting. And the guy is relentless in his notes and like just his research. It's pretty great. Another book is The North and Almost Everything in It by Paul Morley. Paul Morley is like a music critic, but this is about like the north of England and everything it has given us culturally, like Newcastle, Manchester, Liverpool, Blackpool, like all these northern cities. And its argument is like England has sort of forgotten how much of a creative epicenter the North is, and particularly its working class sort of background and more diverse background has made it more of a linchpin for culture. So it's an interesting book there. And then the last thing I want to recommend is I I used to have a really great radio show until I listened to this thing called Under the Radar. It's on Heartland Radio in Pitlochry, Scotland. If you have Radio Garden, you can find it. It's also online. You just do a search for Heartland Radio, but there's a show called Under the Radar. And if you put Tuffley and I in a room against this guy, Sean, who hosts it, we know about a third of everything he knows about music. I didn't even know Underworld was in a band before Underworld, much less I didn't have their records. I didn't know anything about a Tom Waits ska record. I mean, there's like just, it's insane and it's all over the place. And he scores points from going to Fear the Record to Calypso music and making it work. So yeah, I can't, I mean, I literally heard the show and I'm like, I need to quit. So, and I've been on it twice now, talking music, and it's like literally having a conversation with myself. It's really frightening. But so yeah, those are my recommendations.
Cool. Thanks, Rob. All right, John, what you got?
The only thing I'm going to recommend is a show that was a Amazon original called Red Oaks. It takes place in the 80s and has all the all the 80s tunes, but has all it takes place in a Jewish country club, and it has all the tropes of the 80s movies of country club movies, and girls for no reason whatsoever running around without tops on, and guys smoking weed and all sorts of that fun stuff. If you enjoyed those kind of old school movies, this is probably a show for you. It gets a little serious as it moves on, but it's really a story of this kid kind of finding his way from his freshman year of college through kind of trying to find what he really wants to do. Basically an 80s movie over 3 seasons of like 26 episodes total, I think is what it is. And it stars Paul Reiser as basically a huge dick. So that's fun. So then the fun thing that my wife and I would do then is go watch a couple of Mad About Yous after watching that, because then he's a nice guy on Mad About You, but then a complete dick in that, or Aliens. He's also a dick in Aliens too, for the record.
There's also a dick in Stranger Things, if I recall correctly.
Oh, that is true. That is true. Now that you think about it, wait a minute. Maybe it isn't against type. Anyway, so Red Oaks is available on Amazon. I don't think you can get any kickbacks for it, but if you do go to Need Coffee / Amazon / Red Oaks doesn't give kickbacks, but other things do. So why don't you do it there? .com. I think that works, right? Need Coffee /
Yeah, no, that works. John, you're absolutely right. If you go to needcoffee.com / Amazon, then you wind up on the front page of Amazon because you've gone to the front page of Amazon, and anything that you purchase or if you follow any link to Amazon from our site, we get kickbacks for it, which is always appreciated. And yeah, Jamie Bell for Without Remorse said that he was drawing on Paul Reiser's performance in Aliens to help inform his performance of CIA guy in that, which is not bad, by the way. Without Remorse is pretty good. And they lead off into hopefully something else coming afterwards, which makes me happy. So yeah, for my recommendations, 2 things. First, on Disney Plus, and I didn't see anything about this. I just stumbled upon it
today.
What's that?
I watched it today.
Which thing?
The thing you're about to say.
What, Behind the Mask?
Oh no, wrong one.
What did you say? What were you alluding to?
I was alluding to the show notes for Bad Batch.
I watched that today.
Oh, I just don't know what the hell.
Oh, there were show notes?
In the show notes.
There were show notes. It was in a Google Doc. What's wrong with you people?
I enjoyed Bad Batch.
I just didn't understand it, because they're supposed to be clones, and is it the Bad Batch that they're not actually identical clones of?
It's kind of a tangential spinoff of like Clone Wars.
It's from Clone Wars. These were defective clones that were genetically modified on Kamino. And they each have separate kind of enhancements to their natural defects. And so they were known as Clone Force 99, aka the Bad Batch of clones. And they were the breakout stars of the end of the Clone Wars, them and Ahsoka Tano.
Oh, okay.
And so they've gotten their own show today, and it starts out great.
The kind of the thing that's could be interesting about it is also the time period it takes place. It's the first bit of storytelling we've had of Palpatine going, "I'm a bad guy."
Yeah.
And he literally in the first episode.
In that voice.
Yes. Literally in the first episode goes, "I'm the Empire," kind of thing, in that voice, because they got Ian McDiarmid to do it. So of course that's what he did.
Nice. Well, that explains what it is. So thank you. I had no idea.
There you go.
But no, what I was referring to is there's a documentary called Behind the Mask, which is a good history of how Marvel has evolved both behind the scenes and on the page from being basically just more than white dudes, which is, I think, important for white dudes like myself to watch, because being white dudes, we don't know shit about not being white dudes. So, which is unfortunate, because if there's anybody who knows less about the world than we do, I don't know who it is. But it's actually good in that it admits the mistakes that they've made along the way, which I thought was refreshingly candid, that they were able to talk about that, and emphasizes why it's a good idea for multiple reasons, including for business and marketing reasons, to expand to your audience and look like your audience. So I thought that was really good. The other thing I'll recommend is Simon Amstel has a stand-up special on Netflix called Set Free. And Simon Amstel, Do Nothing, his first stand-up special, which you should find by any means necessary, is one of my favorite stand-up specials of all time. But Set Free is really good. Simon Amstel and Greg Davies have probably my two favorite stand-up specials ever. But Set Free on Netflix is a good intro to him and his kind of, I don't know, off-kilter, self-deprecating style, which I can relate to. That whoever it was that said, "Oh, they have enhancements to their defects." Well, I've felt like that my whole life. So it's good. It's good. So those are my two recommendations. And with that, I think that brings us to the end of another episode of Weekend Justice. And as we stare back over the wasteland of the past 2.5 hours, that if Bruce Wayne was a caring billionaire, he would have fixed, I think it only makes sense that we take a moment of silence before staring at each other in faked horror and simply saying, "Wedding cake." Wedding cake.
Yeah, Follow. Oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah, this Weekend Justice was brought to you by the No Man's Land Arc of Batman.
Wow.
Yeah, it's because of, speaking of Greg Davies,
Or, sorry, was that your bridge?
It's because of you. I've been watching a lot of clips of Taskmaster on YouTube.
So good. So good.
I watched I watched what I guess was an American import and thought it was a horrible show, and then started watching it for real. And
yeah, it's unfortunate. The Reggie Watts was the host of the American Taskmaster, and he would be an amazing contestant. He's not right to be the Taskmaster, but he is perfect for he would be perfect to be on a version of the show, and he would wind up being like Tim Key was. Tim Key was a contestant on one of the very early series, and now he's like a he helps make the tasks. He's like in the credits as special task consultant. So he helps come up with the crazy shit that they do. Because he's just got that kind of mind.
There's just no reason why that show shouldn't work here. There's no reason.
Well,
I mean, there's
it honestly just needs to get picked up by Netflix, and it's one of the things that would be a breakout on their network because they would because it was picked up for the CW.
Yeah.
Now that show does not belong on the CW like at all.
the pacing was all wrong.
I would argue Whose Line Is It Anyway doesn't belong on the CW.
Yeah.
No, but it keeps going. It's
I know
weird.
somehow.
Well, I think part of the thing is that it already existed enough where people knew what it was, maybe.
Yeah, it's got legacy factor, whereas Taskmaster didn't. And think if
wasn't
we
really promoted well.
If we as a nation got obsessed with watching for a little while, The Floor Is Fucking Lava.
Well, supposedly HBO Max is gonna take another shot at it.
What,
The American
Taskmaster?
version. Yeah, the American version.
Oh, just import.
Well,
the
because
British
they still have
version.
the rights, they've got to do something with it.
Well, if you get the right host,
Yeah, you've got to get a good host, and then you've got to the Comedy Central version did their version was 30 minutes, and that's just not a lot of time to play around with it. You got like maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 tasks in before you were done. So you need to have some space for it to breathe. But you know what? If they want to try it again and pay Alex Horn more money, I'm totally fine with that. Alex Horn is the creator and the on the show he plays the assistant to the Taskmaster, which is always hilarious because he's the creator of the show.
Yeah,
Right.
I think CW and Warner's has a multi-year deal on those rights, so HBO is
Well,
probably
now-
going to take another whack at it.
Well, but now is it the rebroadcast? Because CW rebroadcast the British version.
I think it's
And-
both. They still have the
Okay.
rights to make an American version, and
Okay.
I believe HBO Max, the comedy division of HBO, is going to take a shot at it.
I mean, the one good thing about that is you wouldn't have to act like it was, well, in the UK pre-Watershed, so you could
Yeah.
be more adult about it. So maybe that would help. But yeah, you've got to, and I don't know who over here you could grab to be an appropriate Taskmaster.
I've actually been thinking about that, and I have an idea of who might work, but it would be a different field. Because I was just trying to think of what we like to do is use on game shows now. What we mainly like to use is actors that are like quote unquote past their prime, and I can't think of one there. Or we use
Okay.
comedians, and trying to think of a comedian that isn't isn't problematic at the moment. And so my brain just kind of went to John Mulaney. I think I would be able to handle John Mulaney hosting it. He's absurd enough that I think we'd be okay.
Well, but he has to have a certain amount of harshness to him as well.
Yeah.
Because that's Greg on the British Taskmaster. Is he's funny and harsh, and everybody knows it's all a gag.
Right.
Which is one of my favorite bits of the show is when their outrage gets to the point where everybody just starts laughing because of how ridiculous it is.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I didn't. Has he left rehab? Is he okay? I haven't heard.
He's out.
Okay. Good. Because
He's out and took a job writing for one of the late night shows, so he would have some stability.
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers. Yeah.
Well, Disney Plus also needs to put him on a Spider-Ham animated series. There's your stability right
Fucking
there.
yesterday.
I would watch the 17 seasons of that. Absolutely. So I don't know why that's not happening. Why is that not Disney Plus? They know you listen to this podcast. Make it happen for the love of God.
I think that would actually be Sony that would need to do that.
Really?
It's on the Sony side of the fence.
Oh yeah. So where would that end up airing though?
It might end up on Disney Plus anyway because
They just signed that deal.
they did just sign that deal. So
Oh, which means it would go to Netflix first,
it would go
probably.
to Netflix first and then Disney Plus down the line.
Well, as long as it shows up somewhere, I'm fine. It just needs to exist.
I wonder
It
if
needs
that
to-
deal means that the Netflix. Well, no, because the Netflix properties won't go. The Netflix MCU won't go to Disney Plus because they don't fit there.
Well, no, and also because the Netflix doesn't own the Netflix ones anymore because I think most of the rights are reverted back.
Yep, they have, because they've already they've started talking about
I know they had plans for Luke Cage, but I don't know anything else.
But they're not going to use Mike, which sucks.
What?
They're recasting Luke Cage, is what I heard.
Well, right now because Mike's on Evil, so
Yeah, so they're going
Mike's
to keep.
attached to Evil, so they don't know how long that's going to go. So
I just flat out blanked on his
it's
last
not
name,
too much
so
longer.
all of a sudden we're pals.
Coulter, yeah. But yeah, I just want more. I would like. I don't want him to recast Daredevil. I like Charlie Cox, and I want Kingpin somewhere.
Well,
because
I don't think
Vincent
they're going to
D'Onofrio-
recast Daredevil.
No, they've talked about keeping.
Charlie's in another movie.
That's
Well,
the
I've
rumor,
heard
but
about that, but I just don't. I don't know. I
The
don't
rumor
trust
is-
it until it's confirmed.
And the rumor is that they're keeping Jessica Jones, but they're recasting both Fist and Power Man.
We already have a new Iron Fist. It's Colleen Wing, and I want that Iron Fist. They owe me that Iron Fist. They owe it to me. Fuckers.
They're going to give you a different kind of fist. Sorry.
Shane's here now.
Oh, it's gonna be that looks so good. Tony Leung in a Shang-Chi movie. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. looking forward to
Aquafina
all that
driving a
stuff.
bus. We're good.
The only thing that movie is missing is Donnie Yen, but
That you know of.
yeah.
Or they're saving him for the sequel.
I mean, he was already in one Disney movie.
that is true.
Yeah. But now I need more Kingpin.
Oh yeah.
That one of my favorite MCU villains ever.
Did a
And
great
D'Onofrio
job.
just nailed it.
Oh God, so good. Yeah, really, the Netflix, him and David Tennant are probably like my favorite MCU villains because they're just so evil. It was so funny before Daredevil came out. I was like, they need to have Kingpin, like they need to have a cameo in the Spider-Man film to kind of set it up for later. And then I saw both Spider-Man and Vincent D'Onofrio's performance, and I was like, oh no, he's not ready. He's not ready. No way is he ready for Vincent D'Onofrio at this point. Nope. Gotta wait on that.
All right, guys, I got a dip. Go
Yep.
to bed.
Let us run away and regroup.
Oh, dip.
Run
Yep.
away.
Thanks,
John,
guys.
John, I'm glad you're feeling better. I know the last couple of times you were down with the first shot, and then now you've almost died from, some form of oral disease, but I'm glad that you're back.
Wow.
For those who tuned in late, enjoy.
It just sounds like you need to buy a dental dam, but
Yeah, I have a drop for it, but I can't find it.
I mean, saran wrap if you gotta. What? I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Sorry. Sorry.
There we
All
go.
right.
Inside voice.
I get it in my mouth every time.
And that's my cue to exit.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye,
Thanks.
kids.
Bye.